If your free will was quietly scripted before you woke up, would you even notice? This is the Mareska protocol, the invisible architecture of dark psychology, manipulation, and mind control that nudges your choices, hijacks your emotions, and sells them back to you as destiny. Tonight we decode the hidden code of human control, so you can take your mind back. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. If you enjoy this video, like it, share it with someone who would appreciate it, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. We truly value your feedback. Now, let's dive in. Protocol 1. The frame gate. Before every choice, someone has already written the question. You think you are deciding, but most days you are only selecting from a menu that was placed in your hands by a room, a pattern, a voice, a culture. The paradox is simple and terrifying. Your freedom can feel wide while the doorway is narrow. The frame gate is that doorway. Whoever defines the question narrows the answers, and the narrowness feels natural because the walls are painted with familiar colors. Tonight, let's learn to see the paint. Think about the last time someone asked you, do you want the premium or the standard? Notice how the third path, I don't need this, was missing, yet your mind accepted the two options as if they were the entire world. Or the moment a partner asked, are you angry or just tired? Perhaps you were neither. Perhaps you felt unseen and quiet. But the frame pulled you toward anger or fatigue, as if choosing one would make the conversation easier. Frames have that power. They plant premises that slide past your guard. They shrink the sky into a hallway and tell you the hallway is the sky. The frame gate operates through comfort. If a question sounds ordinary, our minds relax. If the words carry authority, our posture softens. If the timing is urgent, our attention collapses to the path in front of us. This is why the frame feels invisible. It is not loud, it is logical. It hides in what everyone knows, in what people like us do, in what makes sense. But the Mareska way begins with naming the doorway out loud. When you name a frame, you build a handle on the door. You can hold the handle while you look around. You can keep the door open while you decide whether to walk through. Say it simply, here's the current frame. The moment you speak it, you loosen its spell. And then ask the most important question in this chapter. What is outside this question? Watch how the room changes when you do this. Time expands. Breathing slows. People look at each other, and tiny truths crawl out from behind their eyes. Suddenly, there are paths that did not exist 5 seconds ago. Wait, decline, renegotiate, redesign, or walk away. You did not create magic. You simply return space to the decision. The frame gate is not only a public tool, it is a private ritual. It is what you do with your own thoughts when you feel trapped. When your inner voice asks, do I push harder or give up? Notice the missing options. Ask for help. Change tempo, change target, change method, change meaning. When the day asks, do I say yes or no? Notice the third path, not yet, under these terms. Your mind is a brilliant negotiator, but only when the table is real. If the table is an illusion, your brilliance is just energy spent in a cage. There is a tender side to framing. We often frame to protect ourselves from pain. We say, I have to be the strong one or I am the peacemaker, and then we shrink our choices to match the story. These are not lies, they are survival crafts. But over time, they become the water we cannot see. The frame gate invites a soft audit. What story am I asking my life to obey? Whose question is this? If the question belongs to fear, can I thank it for its service and ask a braver one? If the question belongs to pride, can I let humility write a kinder frame? In rooms of power, framing shows up as politeness. Be reasonable, someone says, and the definition of reasonable is silently imported from their side of the table. Let's be practical, they add, and practical becomes an alias for our timeline, our budget, our risk, our optics. To pass the frame gate ethically, speak your frame in plain English and invite the rival frame into the light. Here is how I'm defining success. Here is what I am not considering yet. What would you add? What would you remove? This is not weakness, this is clean power. Clean power declares its assumptions and welcomes inspection. It says, if we are going to build something together, let's begin with the shape of the room. The most common trap is the false binary. Either this or that. Either loyal or disloyal. Either brave or afraid. Either with us or against us. Binaries seduce because they promise speed. They save us from the discomfort of nuance. But life is wide. Most truths arrive with a corridor of maybes, later, partly, under conditions, with safeguards, after evidence. When you meet a binary, breathe once and add a third door. Is there a version where we do neither? Is there a phased approach? What would a reversible trial look like? You will be surprised how often pressure drops when a third door opens, and how often the original urgency turns out to be theater. Notice also the time frame inside the frame. Many questions are designed to compress the present so much that the future cannot fit. Will you decide now? Sounds like, are you decisive? But it really means, will you decide inside my clock? Your clock matters too. Ethical use of the frame gate honors tempo. If a choice is hard to reverse, time must be generous. If a choice risks another person's safety, consent must be clearer than comfort. If a choice will shape who you are becoming, the frame must include who you want to be in 3 years, not just who you feel like today. The frame gate checks evidence. Every frame carries a quiet story about what is true. Everyone is doing this. Research proves that. It's obvious that. Obvious to whom? Proven by what method? Done by which group? This is where calm questions protect your mind. What would make the opposite true? What data would change our course? Who benefits if we accept this frame? And who pays if we don't? These are not hostile questions. They are hygiene. They wash the frame so the decision can breathe. In your closest relationships, the frame gate is an act of love. When someone says, you never listen, you can accept the attack or you can listen to the frame. Perhaps the real frame is, I feel alone when we speak. When a child says, I hate school, maybe the frame is, I don't feel safe failing. In both cases, answering the surface question will not heal the wound. Name the deeper question gently and you create room for trust to grow. The same is true at work. A colleague asking, can you take this on, may be trapped in the frame. If I say I'm overwhelmed, I look weak. If you can, name the frame and offer a braver one. Let's plan capacity honestly, so none of us drown quietly. Ethical framing is transparent framing. Say what you want, why you want it, and what you are not seeing. Invite people to adjust the borders. Set reversibility where you can. In practice, this sounds like, here is the decision I'm proposing, here are the assumptions shaping it, here is how we will know we were wrong, and here is how we will back out if needed. There is dignity in this. People follow leaders who leave the door unlocked and the lights on. What about self-defense? Begin small. When an offer arrives with 2 boxes, write a third in your mind and test the feeling of it. When a meeting rushes you, ask for the clock to slow by 5 minutes and watch how the tone changes. When your feed presents a storm of certainty, choose one claim and search for a credible counterclaim before you click share. This is not a burden. It is a practice. It builds a kind of quiet muscle, the ability to hold a question without letting the question hold you. The frame gate also respects silence. Not every frame deserves an answer. Some frames are designed to make you smaller. Prove you deserve to be here. Show you're not difficult. Convince us you're grateful. These are not questions. These are cages. You may decline the interview. You may choose to answer with your terms or not at all. Agency is not loud. It is consistent. It says, I do not negotiate my dignity inside that frame. There will be moments when you need to frame on purpose. Do it gently. Name the values at stake. Tell the truth about your incentives. Offer conditions that protect the other person's freedom. Ask for a slower clock when the risk is high. If the choice is hard to reverse, raise the bar for consent. If the change will alter an identity, give time for grief. Clean framing remembers that people are not chess pieces. They are stories still being written. Let me leave you with 3 living images. The first, a piece of paper with a box drawn in the center and the question written inside. Around the box, white space. In the white space, new options begin to appear the longer you stare. The second, a door with a handle. You can name the door and choose to enter, or you can hold the handle and look around. You are not being dragged. The third, a small bell on your desk or in your heart. Each time a binary arrives, each time urgency roars, each time the voice of everyone knows grows loud, the bell rings once. You hear it, and you remember to ask, what is outside this question? The frame gate does not make life easy. It makes life honest. It takes the pressure out of the room and replaces it with clarity. It gives you a way to stay human when the world is shouting for speed. It protects relationships from lazy questions and opens space for real ones. And slowly, it reshapes your identity. You stop being the person carried by other people's menus. You become the person who can set a table, invite others to eat, and still let them choose their own meal. This is consent-first power. This is the beginning of Mareska. Protocol 2. The signal stack. People don't just believe arguments, they believe rooms. A polished table, a confident voice, a perfect logo, a camera angle that makes someone taller than you by 2 silent inches. Long before the first fact arrives, your nervous system has already voted. That is the paradox. The mind that wants truth is carried on a body that reads signals. Tonight, I want to show you how those signals stack, how they whisper credible or doubtful before evidence speaks, and how you can keep your freedom without becoming cynical or cold. We call this the signal stack. And once you see it, glossy surfaces stop being spells. They become data points you can place where they belong, behind the proof, not in front of it. Imagine you walk into 2 rooms. The first looks like a movie set. Soft lighting, warm wood, the low hum of an expensive air system, water in glass bottles, a screen with immaculate slides, thin fonts, tasteful gradients, numbers that shine like jewelry. The speaker stands still, shoulders open, hands calm at the belt line, voice textured with the kind of confidence that feels like a massage for your doubts. You have not heard a single method yet, but your body is voting yes. In the second room, the lights are too bright, the chairs are mismatched, the presenter fumbles with a cable, the slide theme looks like it was born on an old laptop, and the voice is clear but plain. Your body votes no. Now, pause the movie and ask the only question that matters. Which room had better evidence? You don't know. You only know which one was easier to trust. That is the signal stack at work. Aesthetics, posture, tone, design, and rhythm. Optics that bias credibility before evidence lands. Signals are not evil. They are part of human communication. The trouble begins when signals are treated as proof. A white coat changes how we hear a sentence. A uniform adds gravity to the same words. A deep voice makes a shaky claim sound steady. A microphone with a little reverb makes a mediocre idea feel like a keynote. A backdrop of books tells your brain scholar, whether or not the books have ever been opened. Even silence is a signal. A long pause tells the room I am not rushed, and your mirror neurons relax. The stage is not neutral. None of this means you must distrust beauty or punish care. It means you learn to separate the look from the proof. You learn to say, quietly to yourself, I like how this feels. Now show me the method. The signal stack is a forbidden touch, because it acts on the body without asking the mind. Music in a store moves your tempo. Scent changes your memory of the moment. Color shifts your sense of warmth or risk. On social media, numbers stack as signals. The blue check, the follow count, the shiny comments that say genius before the idea has done any work. In a boardroom, seating positions are signals. The center chair, the head of the table, the side seat by the door. In a negotiation, a glass wall with a city view is a signal. It makes you feel small enough to accept their terms. In a relationship, the calmest tone can still be a signal used as leverage, sounding reasonable while refusing to hear. The Mareska practice is not to hate signals but to label them. Naming the signal returns your agency. When you can say, "This room is making me more agreeable than this argument deserves," you are already free enough to ask for sources. "Let me bring this closer to the ground." You are in a pitch meeting. The product demo is smooth. The charts are stunning. Every slide whispers, "Of course." Your body leans forward because everything looks like it was carved out of competence. In that exact moment, raise the bar, not lower it. Ask to see the method. Ask where the numbers came from. Ask about sample size, time window, outliers, and what the model didn't predict. If it's science, ask for replication. If it's business, ask for base rates. How often has this worked elsewhere? Under what conditions? With what hidden costs? If it's a personal promise, ask for pattern, not performance. Show me consistency over time, not a single, perfect moment. You are not being rude. You are placing proof where proof belongs. Bright rooms deserve hard questions. The reverse matters too. Do not punish truth because it arrives in a wrinkled shirt. The best work often lives behind plain doors. The voice that trembles may be carrying a heavy fact. The spreadsheet with ugly fonts may hold the only clean data in the building. Your nervous system will try to disqualify what feels unpolished. Thank it for the signal, then set it aside. Ask the same questions of the messy that you ask of the beautiful. The standard is not how it looks. The standard is whether it holds when you push. This is how you stay fair. This is how you stop equating well-produced with well-founded. There is an ethical side to the signal stack that I want you to hold like a compass. If you lead, publish your methods. Don't hide behind mood lighting and choreography. Design your slides with care, yes, but let anyone who wishes look underneath. If you want to be believed, make it easy to check you. Show the scaffolding, your sources, your assumptions, your uncertainties. Beauty can accompany truth. It just cannot replace it. And if you work in rooms where the show is always bigger than the substance, be the person who makes substance fashionable again. Make transparency elegant. Let your aesthetics be a celebration of clarity, not a mask for lack. In your daily life, signals will keep knocking. You will see a new face on a screen, perfect lighting, a room that screams excellence, and your chest will soften. Train a quiet habit, compliment the craft, then ask for the core. This looks great. Can you walk me through how you got there? That one sentence separates you from the crowd. In relationships, the same habit is a gift. A partner who speaks with tenderness can still avoid accountability. You can honor the tone and request the facts. I appreciate how you're saying this. Can we look at what actually happened? Notice how respect and truth can live together when the signal and the proof both get their due. Signals also come in numbers. A video with millions of views. A book with 1,000 reviews. A post that everyone seems to applaud. Social proof is a powerful signal in the stack. It says, many brains have approved this. You can rest. Do not ignore the crowd. Simply remember that popularity is not method. A thing can be loved and still be wrong. A thing can be unpopular and still be necessary. If the crowd signal is loud, lean toward method, not mood. Ask, what did they measure, and how? Your calm curiosity is not an attack on the creator. It is a defense of your mind. You may wonder, can I use signals at all without becoming manipulative? Yes. Signals are how humans read care. Good lighting helps people focus. Clean design makes ideas easier to follow. A steady voice reduces noise so meaning can land. Use signals in service of clarity and consent. When you present, name where your confidence ends. Invite questions. Offer your sources before you're asked. If the room is dazzled, lower the lights, literally or figuratively, so that substance can be seen. Ethical influence does not fear scrutiny. It asks for it. Remember, the signal stack is layered. It is not one thing. It is many small things that add up. Posture plus tone plus setting plus timing plus costume plus camera plus music. You will not catch every layer in real time, and that's okay. Notice one. Name it. Asking for the next layer gets easier. You will also learn to design your own environment to help your thinking. Simpler screens, fewer distractions, rooms that don't bully you into quick answers. If this sounds small, it isn't. Saving 5% of your decisions from premature trust or undeserved doubt is a quiet revolution. Let me leave you with a story. A researcher I admire speaks with a soft voice and uses slides that could have been made 15 years ago. No logo, no animated graphs, no moving backgrounds. But he begins with a sentence I have come to worship. Here is my method, so you can show me where I'm wrong. When he says it, the entire room changes temperature. The lights could be terrible, the chairs could squeak, the sound could be half broken, and yet, truth walks in. Because the highest signal of credibility is not polish. It is openness to being checked. The day you start valuing that signal above all others, you become very hard to fool. So when the room is beautiful, breathe and raise the bar. When the room is plain, breathe and lower your defensiveness. Praise craft, then ask for method. If a claim glitters, look for the wire holding it up. If a claim limps, see whether the bones are good. Separate the look from the proof. Publish your methods when you speak. Request sources when you're dazzled. This is how we keep our minds in a world designed to move us before we know we have been moved. The signal stack will always be there. Soft lights, smooth voices, perfect fonts, brave music. Let them make the path pleasant. Let the evidence decide where it leads. Protocol 3. The attention magnet. Your freedom doesn't disappear when you make a bad choice. It disappears 10 seconds earlier, when your attention is kidnapped. The oldest part of your brain grabs the wheel for just a moment, and the newest part, your patient, reasonable self, wakes up to find a signature on a contract it never read. That is the paradox of being human. You want truth, but your attention wants novelty, threat, and reward, and it wants them faster than logic can lace its shoes. Tonight, I want to sit with you in that fragile space between the buzz in your pocket and the finger that taps, between the headline that shouts and the pulse that jumps, between the offer that glows and the breath that shortens. We call this the attention magnet. You already know how it feels. Now you'll learn how to see it, so you can choose after calm returns. Imagine your phone lights up in the dark. It is not information. It is a flare. Red numerals on a badge, a sound designed to cut through sleep, the small promise that behind this rectangle of light waits something new, or something dangerous, or something delicious. Novelty, threat, reward. The three chords that play under almost every song that steals your focus. You haven't chosen yet, but you feel chosen. Your chest tilts forward. A microlean. The body votes before the mind arrives. It happens in shops where timers drip seconds like rain and signs whisper last chance. It happens in arguments when a message lands with "we need to talk" and your heart obeys the oldest law. Danger first, meaning later. It happens in headlines that say breaking even when nothing is actually breaking. It happens in love when silence becomes a cliff edge and you jump into a reply that turns a small misunderstanding into a long winter. The attention magnet is not evil. It is primitive mercy. Your nervous system keeps you alive by chasing the unexpected, the risky, and the sweet. The trouble begins when an old survival habit becomes a modern sales strategy, and you are taught to live at the speed of alarm. Let's step inside 1 minute of a normal day. You are scrolling, and there it is, a video thumbnail that stitches novelty and reward in one sentence. Your thumb twitches. That twitch is not a decision, it is history. Millions of years of pattern spotting wrapped around a tool that knows your patterns better than you do. The first defense is not cleverness. The first defense is a pause your biology will not volunteer. So you make one. You breathe in through the nose and out slower than you took it in. You let your eyes lift from a shining bait and land on something ordinary. The wall, the cup, your own hands. You name the magnet like a scientist in a soft voice. This is novelty. This is threat. This is reward. Naming a thing moves it from the body to the mind. You are not denying it. You are letting it pass through. Then, if you still want to, you watch. But now you watch as the chooser, not the chosen. In meetings, the magnet wears a suit. A slide appears with a countdown and your boss says we must decide now. Maybe you must. But urgency is not proof. It is tempo. There is a difference. You can honor the tempo without kneeling to it. You can say I hear the clock, and because the clock is loud, the evidence must be louder. What will we wish we had checked at 9 a.m. tomorrow? If they stare, you add a simple rule I use when the magnet shows up in a room. If it's truly urgent, the minimum standard is clarity, not panic. The choice can be fast, but the mind must be slow. This is what slow the click really means. Not delay for the sake of pride, but delay so that the adult in the room can arrive before the child spends the money. In love, the magnet is tender. The reward is closeness, the threat is distance, the novelty is a mood you have not seen before. You receive a short message with a long silence after it. Your heart reads danger, and your thumbs offer speeches you will regret by morning. Here, the pause is not coldness, it is care. You can write the message and not send it. You can set a small ritual, the Mareska minute. Water, walk, window. You drink a glass, you walk to the door, you look outside until you can say what you feel without punishing the person you love. Decide after calm returns is not a trick. It is love refusing to outsource its voice to adrenaline. In politics, the magnet is theater. New outrage, new scandal, new cliff. The news is not a river. It is a siren. It has learned what keeps you from turning it off. And yet, you do not have to become numb to see clearly. You can be compassionate without being captured. When a headline makes your jaw tense, you can repeat 3 quiet questions in your own kitchen voice. What happened? How do we know? What else could explain it? If the answers are thin, you can withhold your outrage like a sacred resource. Attention is a vote. Spend it like money you will have to explain to your children. At work, the magnet looks like opportunity. Rare seats. Short lists. A role you have wanted for years, now offered if you agree before the ink dries on Friday. Love what is offered, and then love yourself enough to slow. Ask for the document in writing. Ask for terms you can see in daylight. Ask how reversibility works if the promised future dissolves into slogans. The magnet makes you treat the future like a fire sale. The pause lets you treat the future like a home you will live in. One day of patience can save you a year of repair. It would be easy to turn the attention magnet into an enemy and wage war on every spark that lands in your field of view. But that would make your life smaller than your fear. There is a gentler path. The magnet is a messenger. It announces where your values live. If novelty always wins, perhaps you hunger for wonder and starve it with routine. Feed wonder the honest way. Books, walks, new skills, good art, slow conversations with old souls. If threat always wins, perhaps you carry an old alarm that hasn't learned the year you live in. Teach it with small proofs of safety. Keep promises to yourself. Tidy one shelf. Finish one tiny thing. If reward always wins, perhaps you have been living on the crumbs of unpredictable praise. Bake your own bread. Track daily effort, not episodic applause. You are not broken because the magnet moves you. You are human. The work is to move with eyes open. There is a small sentence that has saved me more times than I can count. When the magnet hits, I say aloud to the empty room, I will decide this when I am calm. If I cannot trust my calm, I cannot trust my choice. Then I do something boring on purpose. I fold a shirt. I wash a cup. I write the decision on paper with 2 sentences next to it. Why yes, why no? Boredom is not the enemy of passion. It is the bridge back to clear thought. On that bridge, you will meet the part of you that remembers what you value when nobody is watching. You might ask, how long should the pause be? Long enough for your breath to stop copying the tempo of the screen. Sometimes that is 60 seconds. Sometimes it is sleep. If the world ends because you waited an hour, it was ending anyway. The mind that can wait an hour is a mind that can lead. Do not let anyone sell you the lie that speed equals strength. Fighter pilots train to slow the moment inside the moment. This is your version. You are not late. You are precise. Let's touch the other side with care. Could the magnet be used on others? Of course. And that is why we draw a line. Forbidden touch begins when you pull autonomic levers to remove consent. The Mareska practice invites the opposite. Disclose the lever and return agency. If you use novelty, you tell people it is coming. If you speak of danger, you show the numbers. If you offer rewards, you explain the costs. You present your case, then you give them time to decide when calm returns. If your idea only wins when you hurry them, it has not won. It has borrowed their nervous system for a night. Before we close, try this with me. Picture the thing that most easily steals your attention. The app, the person, the braking banner. See yourself, not fighting it, but greeting it. Good evening, magnet. Thank you for telling me what I care about. Now wait at the door while I slow my breath. Feel how power returns to your hands when you speak like that. The pull is still there, but you are now the one who names it. The wave still rises, but you are now the one who decides whether to surf. You won't win every time. Some days you will click before the breath is even halfway out. You will send the message you should have rewritten. You will buy the thing that felt like a future and turned out to be a moment. Do not shame yourself for being built like a human. Shame is its own magnet. It drags you back to the feed for comfort. Instead, practice the smallest possible repair. Name what happened. Name the chord it played, novelty, threat, or reward. Add 1 inch of pause next time. Freedom is not a single dramatic refusal. It is 1,000 tiny intervals reclaimed from reflex. So let this be tonight's promise. You will not abolish the attention magnet. You will learn to hear it without obeying. You will let urgency ring, then answer as a sovereign. You will let novelty sparkle, then choose what is worthy. You will let reward beckon, then decide if the price is your peace. Slow the click. Add a pause before reacting. Decide after calm returns. In a world that profits from your panic, your quiet is a revolution. In a life that you must live from the inside, your calm is a crown. Protocol 4. The emotion dial. Fear borrows your intelligence and spends it without asking. Belonging can make danger look like home. If you have ever wondered why smart people take reckless paths or ignore gentle warnings, the answer is simple and ancient. The feeling spoke first, the facts arrived late. Tonight I want to sit with the machinery behind that moment, the emotion dial, because if you can see the hand that keeps turning it, you can learn to turn it back to truth. Think of your feelings as the thermostat of value. Turn fear up and every risk looks larger than life. Turn urgency up and time becomes a predator. Turn belonging up and you will pay any price to stay in the room. None of this makes you weak. It makes you human. The oldest parts of your nervous system were built to protect you in wild forests, not in push notifications and boardrooms and comment sections. They work fast and they work well, but they do not work precisely. When fear spikes, the brain zooms in. When calm returns, the brain zooms out. That is why panic always feels like the whole sky, and perspective always feels like morning light. The emotion dial is the quiet lever that tilts your evaluation before you ever touch a spreadsheet, a policy, a promise, or a person. Picture a headline that says last chance, a timer that bleeds seconds, a voice that tightens your chest with phrases like right now, before it's too late, everyone is already in. Your decision has not started. Your valuation has. You are no longer weighing a product or a plan. You are trying to buy your way out of a feeling. This is why urgency sells. It is not an argument. It is an atmosphere. And atmosphere is the oldest form of persuasion. It moves bodies before it moves minds. When you recognize that, you gain a gift that looks like magic from the outside. You stop making purchases to relieve anxiety and start making choices to serve your future. Belonging is even stronger because it is softer. The emotion dial turns quietly when you are praised, welcomed, finally understood. A group smiles at your story, laughs at your timing, mirrors your posture, repeats your words. The room becomes warm. The warmth becomes safety. Safety becomes faith. And faith, if left uninspected, becomes a blindfold you are proud to wear. Belonging rewrites risk by editing the story you tell yourself. If they are my people, their path must be wise. If they are my people, their enemy must be mine. You do not notice the price of entry until your values are standing outside, hands in pockets, waiting for you to come back and sign the truth you left at the door. The emotion dial did not shout that day. It hummed. You mistook the hum for home. The ethical use of this protocol is not to freeze your feelings. It is to name them and then check. I will say it plainly. Do not sell with panic. If you must raise fear to win, you have not won. You have borrowed a nervous system against its will. You may get a signature or a vote or a promise tonight, but in the morning, when the tide of adrenaline goes out, people will look at what they signed and feel used. Trust will die quietly first, loudly later. The Mareska practice is simpler and harder. We lead feelings with honesty and then we make room for facts. If you speak of risk, bring the numbers that justify the alarm. If you speak of urgency, show the real clock. If you speak of belonging, name the boundaries that protect integrity from group hate. In short, let emotion open the door, let evidence walk in, and let consent choose the seat. Now, how do you live this when the world is loud? Begin by labeling the dial out loud in small ways. I feel rushed. I feel left out. I feel scared. The sentence is not a verdict. It is a map pin. You are here. The moment your mouth names the weather inside you, the storm loses the right to pretend it is the sky. After naming, you do what seems boring and therefore wise. You check. What are the facts I can see without the story? What is the base rate? How often does this really happen? If I were calm, would this be worth the cost it asks? If I had one night of sleep, would I still sign? Adults who make these questions a ritual do not become slow. They become precise. And precision is what panic steals first. Let me bring this close to love, because love is where the emotion dial draws the most beautiful maps and the most dangerous ones. You receive a short message from someone you care about, and it is colder than yesterday. Your chest stiffens. Your mind begins to write a future in 12 rapid frames. They are leaving. You did something wrong. Say something grand now or lose everything. The dial is on fear and urgency. If you answer from there, you will speak to your fantasy, not to the person who sent a single sentence while boarding a bus. So you do something that looks small from the outside and heroic from the inside. You name the feeling to yourself, you place your phone face down, and you take 3 patient breaths that last longer than the threat of panic. Then you ask for context, or you wait. Love that survives is often love that refuses to be commanded by adrenaline. Now let's visit power. In a meeting, someone says, if we don't agree tonight, we lose the market. The room tenses. The dial jumps to urgency. A person with presence does not counter with drama. They counter with clarity. Let's list what we lose if we rush and what we lose if we wait. 2 columns. 2 truths. Suddenly, the room remembers that a dial is not a law. It is a setting. The decision may still be fast, but it will no longer be a purchase made to escape a feeling. It will be a choice made with eyes open. That is leadership without poison. You may ask, can I ever use the emotion dial to help others? Yes, and the word is help. If someone is frozen by fear, you can lower the dial with your voice and your pace. If someone is asleep to risk, you can raise the dial with plain facts and gentle examples. The line you must never cross is the line where you pull the dial to erase their ability to choose. Do not spike fear to sell. Do not inflate urgency to win. Do not heat belonging to smother dissent. Healthy rooms name the dial and share the knob. There is a practice I recommend for the next 7 days. When a feeling arrives, greet it as a guest, not a ruler. Hello fear. Hello urgency. Hello hunger to be included. Ask each guest what it wants to protect. Fear often wants your body safe. Urgency often wants your time respected. Belonging often wants your heart held. Thank them. Then decide with your mind. If you cannot decide now, tell your feelings the truth. We are not ready to choose. We will check the facts in the morning. The part of you that is still a child will want candy now. The part of you that is your future will be grateful you did not buy a lifetime for the price of a moment. Some of you will worry that naming a feeling will make it bigger. Sometimes it does, for a breath. Then it gets its coat and leaves. What makes feelings dangerous is not their size. It is their disguise. Shame disguised as duty. Panic disguised as productivity. FOMO disguised as vision. Loneliness disguised as loyalty. When you remove the costume, you remove the power to quietly rewrite your values. This is why the emotion dial sits so early in the Mareska system. Valuation happens before evaluation. If you can hold the valuation steady, your evaluation has a chance to be honest. I want to confess something before we close. There were years when I thought reason should rule everything. I tried to live like a courtroom, every day a trial, every choice a verdict. It made me cold, and it didn't make me wise. Then there were years when I tried to live entirely by feeling. It made me dramatic, and it didn't make me true. The balance is simpler. Feelings to point, facts to steer. Name the feeling, then check the facts. You are not a machine to silence. You are not a storm to obey. You are a mind with a compass and a heart that wants to protect what you love. Let them work together. So tonight, turn the dial with your own hand. If fear is loud, soften the room and verify the danger. If urgency is loud, lower the tempo and ask for the real clock. If belonging is loud, bless the warmth and write your boundary. Do not sell with panic. Do not buy with panic. Decide when calm returns. The world profits from tilted valuations. Your life prospers from level ones. And when you practice this long enough, people will feel something around you that they cannot name. They will call it presence. They will call it grace. But you will know the quiet truth. It is simply that your feelings still speak, and you have learned to listen without handing them the keys. Protocol 5. The language switch. Language is the oldest magic. A single word can unlock a door you thought was steel, and a pretty phrase can hide a trap deep enough to swallow a future. Most people think arguments are won with facts. They are won, or lost, one metaphor at a time. If you can name the spell, you can break it. If you cannot name it, you will obey it and call your obedience common sense. Tonight we turn our ear to the quietest lever in the room, the language switch, the way words move the goalposts while your heart is busy being reasonable. You have felt it. Someone says, "We need to tighten our belts," and suddenly pay cuts sound like fitness. A leader says, "Collateral damage," and lives become smudges in the margins. A friend says, "I just need space," and what they mean is, "I need distance without responsibility." Metaphors are shortcuts through reality, and shortcuts decide where you arrive. If the map says mountain, you pack rope. If it says garden, you bring a picnic. So it matters who draws the map. It matters which picture we are invited to live inside. The language switch is not simply about definitions. It is about the rooms words build, and what those rooms make possible. Euphemisms are the softest walls. They invite you to sit down before you notice the window is gone. Downsizing is kinder than firing. Enhanced interrogation sounds more clinical than torture. Adult entertainment makes exploitation sound like a graduation. Polite words wear velvet gloves while they move the furniture of your judgment. This does not mean we should be cruel with language. It means we should be honest. Plain words are not violence. They are oxygen. They give the lungs of truth something to work with. If you describe a wound as a cosmetic variance, healing never starts. The first ethical act of power is to name things as they are. Then there are binaries, the favorite trick of people in a hurry. Are you with us or against us? Will you be brave or will you be safe? Are you a winner or a victim? When a sentence presents two doors and both lead to the same basement, that is not a choice, it is a funnel. False either or shrink the mind until it fits inside someone else's strategy. The moment you accept the frame, The rest of the conversation is already decided. It is not dramatic to refuse. It is adult. A third option is not a loophole. It is usually the truth trying to breathe. I can be loyal and still tell you we are wrong. I can be brave and choose a safe plan. I can refuse your timeline and still care. The language switch steals complexity. Your job is to restore it. Labels are faster than thinking. Difficult. Unprofessional. Soft. Aggressive. Genius. Crazy. One word can erase a decade of nuance. A label is a stamp on a living thing. The ink spreads until it covers evidence that doesn't match. Call someone the reasonable one, and watch them become a hostage to calm. Call someone the creative, and watch their strategy questions get rerouted to the design department of the soul. Labels are useful for filing cabinets. They are violent to people. If a label must exist, treat it like a hypothesis that keeps asking for more proof. Better yet, replace labels with descriptions. Say what happened. Say what helped. Say what hurt. When you describe instead of define, you make room for growth instead of cages. Metaphors, euphemisms, binaries, labels, they are not evil in themselves, they are tools. But tools become forbidden touch when they bypass consent. A phrase that makes you feel foolish for asking questions has already taken something from you. A metaphor that makes harm feel noble has already traded your clarity for applause. The Mareska practice is simple and stubborn. Translate to plain speech, refuse false either-ors, and add a third option that honors reality. It sounds small. It is not small. Revolutions begin with a sentence that finally tells the truth. Let's walk into a familiar room together. A manager says, "We are all family here." It sounds warm. It also says, families don't clock out, families don't ask for overtime, families don't file complaints. Translate it. We value loyalty. Now add the missing terms. We value loyalty and we pay for extra labor. A relationship partner says, "If you love me, you'll answer immediately." Translate it. I'm afraid when I don't hear back. Add the third option. I love you and I won't live by alarms. Let's agree on a window that respects both our nervous systems. A politician says, law and order. Translate it. More police power. Ask for the facts. What laws? Which orders? What safeguards? What outcomes in which neighborhoods? Plain speech is not rude. It is how adults build rooms that children can trust. Language also turns inward. Your private voice can be the cruelest poet in your house. I failed, so I am a failure. Binary. Translate it. I missed one target. Add a third option. I can change the method without changing my worth. I must be perfect or I lose respect. Binary. Translate it. I want to be trusted. Add a third option. Consistency builds trust more than flawlessness. Many lives have been lived under a grammar that was never questioned. If you want a kinder life, begin by editing the sentences on your bathroom mirror. You might ask, how do I know when the language switch is happening to me? Your body will tell you. If a phrase makes you feel clever for not asking for details, beware. If a sentence makes you feel dirty for wanting proof, step back. If two options appear and both feel wrong, expand the page. If a label lands on you and suddenly you are performing a role instead of speaking a truth, remove it gently and hand it back. You do not have to fight. You can translate. When you say, be reasonable, it sounds like agree with me. What does reasonable mean in numbers? Calm translation is disarming because it honors the person while diffusing the spell. There is beauty in metaphor when it serves clarity. A good metaphor is a bridge, not a blindfold. It carries meaning across the river of confusion. But a bad metaphor is a fog machine. It makes ignorance look like atmosphere. Keep bridges. Unplug fog. When you speak to children, to teams, to partners, choose pictures that illuminate the cost, the risk, and the choice. Tell them where the path is narrow and where it widens. If your language cannot bear the weight of truth, build stronger language. People can carry more reality than you think when you hand it to them with dignity. I want to show you what this sounds like in your own mouth. You are offered a contract that says, "Act now to secure legacy access." Translate it to the seller's dream. Buy fast so we can count your money now. Then translate it to yours. Commit resources without enough information. Now add a third option. I'll review by Thursday with criteria. If it meets them, I'll proceed. You are given feedback. You're not a culture fit. Translate it. You don't match our current habits. Ask for the nouns. Which behaviors? Which outcomes? Can we agree on standards instead of vibes? You are in a conflict and here, so you're saying you don't care. Translate it. You're afraid I don't care. Add the third option. I care deeply and I also have limits. Here is what I can do by Friday. The language switch is seductive because beautiful words feel like moral shortcuts. But the shortest path through pain is often the longest detour around truth. When a doctor says procedure, ask surgery. When a leader says necessary losses, ask who pays. When a boss says stretch goal, ask at what cost to health. When you say it's complicated to avoid the simple apology, translate that to, I was wrong. The world does not need more clever phrasing. It needs more clean sentences. There is one more door I want to open before we leave this room. Can you use the language switch without becoming a manipulator? Yes, if you do it like this, you reveal the switch while you use it. I'm going to use a metaphor. Tell me where it fails. I'm tempted to phrase this as either or. Help me add a third path. I'm using a label. Stop me if it hides detail. Ethical influence narrates its own methods. It treats grown people like grown people. It never sells with panic. It never hides the cost in rhythm. It never asks you to trade your judgment for melody. So the practice for the week is simple and brave. When language feels too smooth, translate it to plain speech. When two doors appear, draw a third with your pen and step through. When a label lands, replace it with a description anyone can test. When you speak, let your words be sturdy enough to carry facts and soft enough to carry love. Words will always move goalposts. Make sure they move them toward reality, not away from it. And when someone asks why you are slowing the conversation down, why you refuse quick binaries, why you ask for nouns instead of slogans, you can smile and tell them the truth. I'm protecting the part of me that decides. My loyalty is to what is real. My language serves that, or it serves nothing. Protocol 6. The Story Engine. Stories don't just tell you what happened. They tell you what to feel before you check if it happened that way. A story can lift your heart and empty your wallet in the same breath. It can make a stranger your brother or turn a neighbor into an enemy by Friday. And the strangest part? Most of the time, we don't remember the facts we heard. We remember the feelings the facts arrived in. That is the story engine, the beautiful, dangerous machine that compresses complexity and smuggles values in beside the data, asking your heart to sign first and your mind to catch up later. Picture a late-night video with gentle music under a single voice. Once, a small team believed in an impossible idea. The chords are warm, the color grade is amber, the camera breathes in and out like a living thing. Your shoulders lower, trust rises. Then come the numbers, carefully chosen, wrapped in hope, arranged like lights across a dark field so you can step from one to the next without ever looking down. You are not being tricked, you are being carried. This is what a good story does. It transports. But transport is not arrival. To arrive well, you must keep a small, faithful question alive inside the beauty. What data? What counter-story? When you ask that, the magic does not die. It becomes honest. A company says, our users love this feature. That is a story. Inside it should live the data. How many users, measured how, over what time, compared to what baseline. And beside it should stand its sister, the counter-story. Users who didn't love it, the edge cases, the attrition that vanished from a slide. Without the counter-story, you are watching a highlight reel and calling it a documentary. Without the data, you are watching fiction that borrowed the costume of truth. The story engine is powerful because it folds values into facts so tightly that disagreeing can feel immoral. If you refuse the story, do you refuse the virtue it wears? Hope, community, courage? No. You refuse to confuse mood with method. You refuse to buy a conclusion because the lighting was kind. I want to bring this to the ground, to moments you know by heart. Politics is storytelling with budgets. The story says, we are under attack, only strength will keep us safe. What data? Crime rates across years, broken down by place and type, adjusted for reporting changes. What counter-story? Times we grew safer by investing in boring things: lighting, education, treatment, neighborhoods where belonging competed with fear and won. The story says, the economy is thriving. What data? Real wages, not just stock charts. What counter-story? The people doing well by driving for 3 apps in one weekend. The quiet erosion of savings. The point is not to be cynical. The point is to let love of truth outgrow love of theater. In relationships, the stories are softer, but the stakes are higher. They never show up for me. That is a story. It protects you from disappointment and pushes the other person away where they cannot fail you again. What data? Dates, times, contexts, moments you asked and they did not come, and moments they came without being asked. What counter-story? The ways you withdrew first to avoid needing them at all, the requests you made as tests instead of invitations. A better story often begins with a better inventory. When we cite evidence inside the story of us, we make accountability possible without humiliation. We replace accusation with description and give love the kind of clarity it can actually live in. The market loves stories that feel like destiny. This technology will change everything. What data? Adoption curves from similar technologies, constraints that killed dreams last time, unit economics that survive beyond the launch press. What counter-story? Changes that really did change everything, and how they looked at year 2, not day 2. If your hope cannot sit next to the counter-story without flinching, it is not hope, it is infatuation wearing a lab coat. The Mareska practice is not to kill the narrative. It is to lace it with receipts. It is to speak in a voice warm enough for humans and clear enough for reality. There is also the story you tell about yourself, the one that circles your name like a halo or a storm. I am the reliable one. Beautiful, until you are exhausted and cannot make a boundary because your identity votes before you do. What data? How often reliability meant self-erasure. What counter-story? Times when saying no protected the long-term trust others have in you. I am the broken one. A story that keeps you safe from trying. What data? The specific skills you have under pressure. What counter-story? The afternoons you were gentle when nobody could see. The story engine doesn't just sell products, it sells selves. If you never check the footnotes, you'll live inside a script that doesn't fit and call the ache fate. Here is the paradox that frees you. Stories are not the enemy of truth. They are one of truth's finest vehicles when driven with care. A story can carry context, empathy, and order through crowds where spreadsheets would be trampled. But a story that refuses evidence becomes propaganda, and a story that refuses a counterstory becomes a cage. Ethical influence braids feeling and fact without hiding the knots. It sounds like this: here is what happened, here is how we measured it, here is what we might be missing, here is a person it helped and a person it didn't, here is what we will do next if we are wrong. When you hear that kind of story, something deep in you unclenches, because consent finally has air to breathe. Let's practice the question in real time. You hear, this diet changed my life. What data? Clinical trials, sample sizes, adherence rates, long-term outcomes, not just before and after photos. What counter-story? People for whom it didn't work, the dropout curve, the side effects. You hear, this school is failing our children. What data? Reading scores over years, attendance, teacher retention, funding per pupil, which children, which neighborhoods. What counter-story? Programs where the trend reversed and why. You hear, he's a genius, she's toxic, they're heroes, those people are lazy, labels pretending to be stories. Ask for the scenes. Ask for the days. Ask for the costs nobody filmed. If you lead, you must become a careful storyteller or you will become a careless one by default. Tell the truth in a way that minds can hold and hearts can carry. Use imagery, yes, but put your sources on the screen without waiting to be asked. Name what you want people to feel, and then earn it with what you show. Do not rent trust with music, buy it with transparency. When the moment comes to share a hard update, resist the urge to narrate away the pain. Say the plain thing and stay. People will remember that you did not use the story to escape the truth. You used it to escort the truth into the room. If you are a listener, your work is gentler and stronger than you think. Keep your curiosity when a tale arrives dressed in certainty. That's a powerful story. What data is it sitting on? Ask it the way a good nurse asks questions, with care, with the desire to heal, not to humiliate. When you hear a story that flatters your side, treat it like any other. What counter-story would a fair rival tell, and what would you do if parts of it are right? This is not weakness. It is discipline. It makes you hard to recruit into someone else's war and easy to trust in rooms where people are tired of being sold. There is a quieter practice I want you to try tonight. Take a belief you carry like a well-worn coat. Write the story you tell about it in a few sentences. Then write the evidence that supports it. Then write a counter-story with evidence that scares you because it might be true. Let them sit on the same page without fighting. Feel what happens in your body. The first feeling is fear. The second is freedom. The story engine is still running, but now you are in the driver's seat with the windshield clear. One day you will be offered a story so beautiful it makes your bones ache. It will promise relief, belonging, a shortcut through the maze. Do not shut your heart. Do not throw away wonder to protect yourself. Keep your heart open and your method strict. Say yes to the beauty and yes to the audit. Ask the two questions that guard your future without hardening your soul. What data? What counter-story? If the answers are solid, walk forward with joy. If they are smoke, bless the storyteller for the light and keep your firewood. This is the vow of the Mareska protocol. We will tell stories that carry evidence and we will listen to stories with questions that honor reality. We will not use the story to hide the cost. We will not use the story to shame dissent. We will let the narrative do its finest work, connecting human to human, while the facts do their hardest work, protecting human from harm. Narratives compress complexity and smuggle values with the facts. That is their power. Our power is to keep the values visible and the facts verifiable. In a world that sells conclusions wrapped in music, be the person who can weep at the song and still read the footnotes. Protocol 7. The scarcity stage. You're not buying the thing, you're buying your way out of a feeling. That's the secret no clock on a screen will tell you. When time turns into a predator and a number turns into a threat, judgment shrinks, breath shortens, and you will pay almost anything to make the pressure stop. We call this the scarcity stage because it is theater first and value second. Timers, only 3 left, velvet ropes and whispered lists that make you forget the simplest truth. If an offer is truly good, it can survive daylight and a little delay. Scarcity is not always a lie. Seats and seasons and supplies are real. But the show around them often isn't, and the show is what sells you. I want to slow the show down enough for you to hear your own life speaking underneath the soundtrack of hurry. Think about the last time a page blinked at you with a countdown, not to midnight, but to your worth. 10 minutes until the discount vanishes. 30 seconds before your place is gone. You felt the tug in your chest, that old survival alarm that mistakes numbers for fangs. Notice what happened in your body. The lean forward, the tiny panic, the sudden need to decide right now so the feeling will stop. That is pressure masquerading as value. The logic is simple and ancient. If it is rare, it must be precious. If it is closing, it must be meant for me. If others are rushing, I am late already. But let's be honest. How many of those last chances have you seen return tomorrow with a new code of urgency? The theater resets. The clock is reborn. The only thing that doesn't come back is the hour you traded for the show. Scarcity is a forbidden touch, because it reaches into your nervous system and moves your hand before your mind reads the terms. The page blares 3 left, and you don't ask 3 of what, measured when, replenished how. The sign-up says wait list only, and you don't ask how the list works, who gets called, how many actually enter. The social room says members, and you don't ask what membership buys beyond the feeling of being saved from the cold outside. The season of almost is profitable. But you are not a season. You are a person who deserves to know the difference between real limits and rented panic. Let's walk into common moments and open them gently. A starry webinar promises founder seats for a system that will never be this price again. Maybe true. Maybe tomorrow it will be legacy access with a different ribbon. You don't have to accuse or argue. You can ask the adult questions a future you will thank you for. What proves the constraint? Who enforces it? What happens if I review for 24 hours? What is the refund path if the promise and reality quarrel? If the limit is real, grown answers appear. If the limit is theater, the answers blur. Your calm is a light switch. Turn it on and props look like props. In love, scarcity wears perfume. A message lands. If you don't choose me now, don't choose me at all. That isn't love. It's a timer with your heart inside it. Love can ask for clarity. It cannot demand panic. You can honor urgency without bowing to it. You can say, I care about this. I will answer when my answer is true. The people worth building with will respect a mind that refuses to trade honesty for speed. The people who cannot bear your pause are not ready to hold your life. In work, scarcity hides inside opportunity. We have 1 slot left. Say yes today or it's gone. Beautiful. Also, help us meet our quota by borrowing your calm. You can celebrate the offer and still verify the limit. Ask for terms in writing, for the window to review, for the data behind the forecast that makes today essential. If the role is worthy, it will survive your small discipline. If it wilts under questions, it wasn't a role. It was theater requesting applause. Here is a quiet practice that will change the way rooms feel around you. When pressured, verify the limit, then slow down. Those 10 words are a door. Verification forces claims into daylight. Slowing down returns you to the only clock that matters, yours. If the seller insists that verification is rude, you have met a seller who fears what proof would reveal. If a leader says, there's no time to check, you have met a leader who may be on time for the cliff. The answer to such rooms is not drama. It is a sentence. We will decide faster than panic and slower than regret. I know what you fear, that you will miss something golden while you are being wise. You will. Sometimes. But wisdom is not a refusal to miss out. It is a refusal to mortgage tomorrow for the thrill of being chosen today. Real scarcity teaches patience. Fruit that matters ripens. Lines that matter move. Seats that matter lead somewhere worth sitting. Prove constraints or remove them. That's the ethic we practice when we sell, and the ethic we demand when we buy. If we offer a limited cohort, we show the capacity, the calendar, the staff. If we close a cart, we close it with grace and we do not reopen it under another name to harvest fear. Power without poison can afford to be checked. There is a reason the scarcity stage works so well. Attention loves edges. Endings sparkle. Doors about to shut glow brighter than doors that simply stand open. Your nervous system was not designed to ignore a cliff. It was designed to step back. Use that design. When the edge appears, take 1 step away for 1 full breath longer than the time allows. Write the decision on paper with the cost in one hand and the truth in the other. Ask the calm questions no screen will volunteer. If this is scarce, what else is abundant? If this is urgent, what becomes less urgent if I say yes? If this is my only chance, why does it need me frightened to take it? Scarcity also hides in status. Only a few know this, Only a few get in. Only a few belong. Please hear me. Belonging that requires you to feel lucky and small is not belonging. It's a subscription to loneliness with better lighting. The clean rooms, the ones that build people, still have gates, but the gates are honest. They tell you what the work costs, what the work gives, and how to leave with dignity if it isn't for you. If a room needs you to feel afraid of being outside, the room does not believe in what happens inside. Sometimes scarcity is true, and honoring it is wisdom. A flight has seats. A harvest has weeks. A body has limits. When constraints are real, the calm request is simple. Show me. Show me the plane's capacity and the price curve. Show me the calendar and the season's edge. Show me the resources and the trade-offs. When I see the truth of the limit, I can be quick without being hustled. I can move with speed and keep my self-respect. And if the proof is not ready, the sale isn't either. I want to give you a sentence to keep in your pocket for the days the world shouts now in your ear. Say it softly to the screen, to the voice, to yourself. If this is meant for me, it will be there after I breathe. Then actually breathe. Let your shoulders drop. Look away from the countdown and toward the life you are protecting by not living like a fire drill. A mind that can wait 60 seconds can save 6 months. A mind that can sleep on it can save a year. You don't need courage to pause. You need respect for the person you will be when the lights and music are gone. If you lead, take the timer off when you can. If you must use a limit, show it. If you must close the door, say when it opens again. If your idea only wins when people are afraid of missing out, it has not won, it has rented their fear. We can do better than rented fear. We can build offers that are strong enough to stand in open light, with dates that are dates and numbers that tell the truth. We can sell with calm. We can buy with calm. We can make rooms where the rarest thing is not the product, but the trust. So tonight, remember the scarcity stage is a stage. Admire the set, honor the craft, then ask for the backstage tour. When pressured, verify the limit, then slow down. If the clock is real, you will still be you after a breath. If the clock is fake, you will still be free after the show closes. In a world that moneizes your hurry, your patience is a rebellion. In a life you must live from the inside, your unhurried yes is a crown. Protocol 8. The social mirror. Crowds don't just reflect what we believe, they teach us what feels safe to believe. A room can make an average idea look holy, and it can make a simple question feel like a crime. If you've ever clapped because everyone clapped, laughed because everyone laughed, stayed quiet because silence wore the costume of wisdom, then you felt the social mirror bending your spine. Norms, applause, and herd effects don't only push compliance, they paint it with moral color. The trick is subtle. It doesn't say obey. It says be good, and then it defines good as what we do here. Tonight I want to sit with you inside that mirror, warm as a blanket, sharp as glass, and learn how to keep community without losing our edge. We are born looking for faces to copy. As children, we search our parents' eyes to decide if the world is safe. As students, we scan our classmates to know when to raise a hand. As adults, we read meeting rooms like weather reports: tense, calm, stormy, clear. None of this is weakness. It is the nervous system doing its ancient job. The problem starts when applause replaces evidence, when agreement replaces thought, when the herd says this is virtue and we nod before we check. You know this feeling. The first person stands for a standing ovation and your knees move on their own. The mind mutters, was it really that good? The body answers, ask later. That is the social mirror. It turns belonging into a compass and points all north. Look at how quickly numbers become morals online. A post gathers hearts and suddenly the tone feels true. A creator wears a blue check and suddenly the claim feels earned. A wave of comments rewards the same sentence again and again until it sounds like common sense. We say the internet is toxic, but the truth is kinder and more dangerous. The internet is a stadium with no exits, and your brain was built for villages. In villages, dissent is handled by faces. In stadiums, Dissent is handled by noise. When the noise is loud enough, the safest choice is to chant. Not because you believe, but because your nervous system wants shelter. The mirror also lives at home. Families have scripts and roles that last longer than facts. You're the responsible one, which means don't surprise us. You're the fun one, which sometimes means don't be serious when we need it. You're the peacemaker, which quietly means swallow your truth for our comfort. These lines are applause in disguise, and they can make compliance feel like love. If you try to change the script, the room may call you selfish. But there is a quieter truth. A family that cannot hold a new line is a family that has confused harmony with honesty. Love that requires silence is just fear with perfume. Workplaces turn the social mirror into policy. Everyone nods at the plan because the boss looks pleased. Someone says, "Great idea," and suddenly the table erupts in yes echoes. Consensus forms like frost, fast, pretty, and slippery. You feel the question in your throat, but the room's temperature says, "Don't." In that moment, compliance dresses up as team spirit. Your brain tells you that dissent would be rude, risky, disloyal. But healthy teams don't measure loyalty by silence. They measure it by the courage to protect the work from groupthink. The social mirror can make a smart room stupid in 15 minutes. Sometimes the most loving sentence a team can hear is, "I'm not convinced yet. Show me." The mirror is gentle where we want it most. Friendships. A group drifts toward a choice that isn't you. Another late night, another expense, another joke that lands on the same quiet person. You feel it's off, but you don't want to be the heavy cloud. So you smile and go along. This is how small harms become traditions. It's how people wake up 5 years later holding a life that looks like the group's best guess, not their own. Keeping your edge doesn't mean becoming a judge. It means refusing to outsource your values to applause. It means loving your people enough to say the sentence nobody wants to say, gently, clearly, in time. How do we live in mirrors without becoming their puppets? We do it in simple human ways. Before you join the wave, ask one soft question inside your chest. Do I agree or do I want to belong? There's nothing wrong with wanting belonging. Name it, and it stops driving the car. When a choice feels obviously right, give it 60 seconds without the room's face in front of you. Close your eyes if you have to. Listen for the part of you that speaks in complete sentences, not slogans. If your yes grows when the noise fades, it is likely your yes. If it shrinks, it was rented from the room. There is an ethical way to handle the mirror when you lead. Keep community, keep edge. Invite dissent on purpose. Ask someone you trust to tell you where your idea is weak, and thank them out loud so the room learns what praise looks like here. Publish minority reports so that future you, and future hires, can see that truth didn't need permission slips. The first time you do this, the room will twitch. It will feel like breaking a spell, because it is. The spell says unity equals goodness. You are teaching a new one. Clarity equals care. Once people feel the safety of being able to disagree without punishment, the work improves and the air gets easier to breathe. If you are not the leader, you can still bend the mirror toward honesty. Speak in I first, so others don't hear a verdict. I'm uneasy and I want to understand what we are missing. Ask for numbers, timelines, counterexamples. Not to win, but to make sure the group's goodness isn't just momentum with a smile. If the room is allergic to questions, you have discovered something more important than today's decision. You have discovered the kind of room you're in. That knowledge is a map. You can stay and plant seeds, or you can choose rooms built for grown minds. There is also a way to be a community that protects edges. Celebrate the person who says, "I don't know." Keep a chair open for the quiet voice and wait long enough for it to arrive. Rotate the first word so the most powerful person speaks last. Let people submit thoughts in writing before a meeting, so the mirror doesn't choose the courage for them. None of this needs banners or speeches. It needs one or two hearts with steady hands, willing to make space for a different rhythm. In time, new norms form. We clap for truth, not just for agreement. We practice warmth without worship. We keep each other, and we keep ourselves. The social mirror can turn cruelty into a moral parade. History is full of crowds that felt righteous while doing harm. You and I are not immune. If you find yourself in a chorus of anger, pause. Ask the questions that pull the brakes gently. What is the specific harm? What is the proportionate response? What repair do we actually seek? Mob energy loves vague goals. Clarity starves it. When you do speak, let your words measure the wound with care. The point is not to be softer than the truth. It is to be truer than the thrill. Sometimes the mirror is a single person you want to impress. You adapt your opinions to keep their light on your face. The cost looks tiny at first. A small agreement here, a small silence there. Then one day you hear yourself defend a value that isn't yours. That sound will either harden you or wake you. If it wakes you, bless it. You can say, I've been nodding to stay close. I'm going to start telling you my real view. If closeness depends on agreement, it isn't closeness. If they stay, you've found a friend. If they go, you've freed a hostage and discovered your own voice again. I want you to imagine a practice that fits in a pocket. You carry a small card and on it are 3 lines. First, ask for one dissenting view before deciding. Second, write one sentence that would make you unpopular if you said it, and consider saying it kindly. Third, if the choice were private, would you make the same one? This isn't rebellion for sport. It's a way to make sure your life is built with your hands, not just the room's applause. You don't have to fight the social mirror to be free in it. You only have to make it honest. Applause is not evil. It is a signal of shared joy. Norms are not prisons. They are guardrails we can paint together. Herd effects are not always blind. Sometimes they are how a community moves fast toward good. But when these things make compliance feel moral by default, it's time to add light. Invite a question into the circle. Publish the note that disagrees with the minutes. Thank the courage that makes love a little less comfortable and a lot more real. One day soon, a room will ask you to sign your name to its certainty. You will feel the warm pull of "this is who we are," and your throat will reach for "of course." Pause there. Keep the community. Keep your edge. Ask for the minority report. Offer one if it's yours. If they boo, smile with sadness. You have learned the price of that applause. If they listen, smile with hope. You have helped the mirror become a window. In a noisy world, a person who can love people without worshipping the crowd is rare. Be that person. In a life you must answer for when the music is off and the room is empty. Let your yes be yours, let your no be yours, and let your belonging be big enough to hold both. Protocol 9. The authority costume. A costume can save your life, and it can steal your judgment. A uniform tells you who to trust when seconds matter, and the same uniform can make a weak claim feel strong enough to sign. That is the quiet paradox I want you to hold in your hands tonight. We need signals to move fast, but signals are not proof. Titles, badges, follow accounts, polish sets, expensive rooms, performed credibility can calm your fear while quietly borrowing your consent. The Mareska name for this is the authority costume. It is not the enemy. It is a beautiful shortcut with a dangerous edge. We respect people. We test claims. We ask for track record and method, not vibes. Think of the last time a white coat walked into a room and your shoulders unclenched before a single word was spoken. That relief is human and sometimes wise. Training matters. Expertise matters. But even good costumes can make bad sentences sound reasonable. Because I said so wears many outfits. Chief, doctor, founder, pastor, professor, influencer, blue check, bestseller, billionaire. The mind knows that truth isn't a logo. The body still bows. The costume whispers, I have seen farther. Let me skip you to the end. Sometimes you should be carried. Sometimes you should stand and ask to see the map. Authority is a performance long before it is a credential. A podium adds height you cannot earn with an argument. A follow account says many brains agree even when most of those brains did not read beyond a headline. A corner office and a city view create altitude that trickles into the tone of the room. Even the quiet props matter. Leather-bound books behind a camera, a lapel pin that signals tribe, a lanyard at the door that says VIP. None of these are crimes. They are stagecraft. The danger begins when stagecraft sets the standard of proof. When your trust warms because the lighting is warm. When your skepticism softens because the microphone is kind to the voice. The authority costume becomes a forbidden touch when it does the thinking for you. A title is not a method. A badge is not a dataset. A platform is not a peer review. A miracle testimonial is not a longitudinal study. A sermon with beautiful cadence is not a contract with enforceable terms. And a viral clip is not a life you can live in. The ethical move is not to sneer at costumes. It is to look past them with respect. Thank you for your work. Show me how you know. What does that sound like in the wild? A leader says, "Trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years." You answer, "I honor your experience. Walk me through the numbers, the assumptions, the risks you considered." A best-selling author says, "This program changes lives." You answer, "I'm open. What's the evidence beyond stories, sample size, follow-up, attrition, side effects?" A therapist on a screen speaks with perfect calm about a solution for everyone. You answer, "Your calm helps. Where are the boundaries of this tool, and who should not use it?" A guru says, "It works because I say it works." You answer with a smile that closes no door and opens one more. What would prove you wrong? Sometimes the costume is your own. You've been made the smart one, the calm one, the senior one, the person whose nod ends the meeting. It feels good until you notice that people defer instead of thinking and you are flattered instead of tested. If you lead, you must undress the costume without losing the role. Speak last. Publish methods. Invite dissent. Ask a skeptic to present the countercase in your presence and thank them in public. Authority that survives questions is the only authority worth carrying home. There is a softer place where costumes rule without names, families and friendships. You're the parent, you must be right. You're the older sibling, you always know. You're the mentor, I'll do whatever you say. Titles of love can be just as blinding as titles of office. Respect the bond, and test the advice. If the plan is good, it will live through the question, how do you know, and what happens if it goes wrong? If the love is good, it will not make curiosity feel like betrayal. In faith and politics, costumes arrange entire worlds. Robes, flags, phrases with sacred weight. These garments are not jokes, they are containers for meaning and memory. Handle them with care. But care is not surrender. If a robe asks you to suspend the normal rules of evidence forever, the robe is asking for your mind, not just your reverence. If a flag asks you to excuse harm because the colors are yours, the flag is asking for your ethics. The Mareska vow is simple. Love what is worthy inside the symbol, and still ask for the method when the symbol starts telling you what is true. Social media put a tailor shop in everyone's pocket. Anyone can wear numbers now. You see a profile with 1 million followers and feel the old pull. Many eyes can't be wrong. But eyes have always loved spectacle. Popularity is a signal. It is not a method. When a claim rides in on a wave of applause, hold the applause with one hand and hold the question with the other. Source. Track record. Replication. If you are met with offense instead of answers, you have learned what you needed. The costume needed your silence to keep it shine. You might ask, isn't this exhausting, checking everything? No. Only at first. What exhausts the soul is being fooled and then pretending you weren't. What exhausts the mind is living on borrowed proof and waking up with buyer's remorse on your beliefs. Testing claims can be gentle and quick. A habit like a breath. What is the claim? How do they know? What would change their mind? If the answers come cleanly, relax. If they don't, slow down. You are not being rude. You are honoring everyone in the room, including the person in the costume who deserves to be believed for reasons better than lighting. Let me step closer with an image you won't forget. Imagine two bridges across a river. One is carved stone, plain and old. The other is glass and gold, with lights that dance. The golden bridge has a sign that says trust. The stone bridge has a small plaque with numbers you don't understand at first. Weight limits, spans, the year of the last inspection. The crowd moves to the glow. Your body itches to follow. But you stop and place your palm on the rough stone and feel something simple and unfashionable. Proof. Beauty should serve this. It should never replace it. There will be moments when the costume and the claim align perfectly. When the police officer is also wise. When the professor is also humble. When the influencer has receipts. When the CEO shows the error log before the victory slide. Honor those moments. They restore your faith that signals and truth can be friends. But more often you will need to separate the person from the part they are playing. The calmest voice can carry a mistake. The loudest account can be honestly wrong. The small account with shaky video can be the one that shows the thing everyone else missed. Respect people. Test claims. If you wear a costume for a living, and most of us do sometimes, practice the small courtesies that keep you honest. Introduce your uncertainty before your certainty. Give people your method before you ask for their trust. Speak in a tone that can survive being wrong. If you're right, the truth will hold. If you're wrong, the dignity will hold. Both matter. If you're tempted to use the costume to win when the facts are thin, pause. That is the forbidden touch, the moment when you pull the ribbon that tightens minds around you without their consent. Put the ribbon down. Ask yourself if you want agreement or you want alignment. Agreement can be rented with spectacle. Alignment is earned with clarity. One fades in a week. The other lasts long enough to build with. Before we close, a sentence for your pocket. Quiet, simple, and stronger than it looks. When the costume walks in, say inside yourself, I will honor the role and still ask for the receipts. Then ask, could you show me your track record on this? What method led you here? What would make you change your view? If their answer is light, your path is clear. If their answer is heavy with evidence, your mind can rest without regret. The authority costume will always exist. It helps civilization run on time. But your life deserves more than punctuality. It deserves truth with a steady face and proof that can stand when the lights are off. Protocol 10. The choice grid. You don't lose freedom when you pick the wrong option. You lose it a minute earlier, when someone else builds the menu. Most of the time you aren't choosing between good and bad. You're choosing between what's on the table and what never got invited to dinner. That is the quiet power of the choice grid. The way defaults make yes happen by themselves. The way order makes the first thing feel safer and the last thing feel urgent. The way decoys make one option glow by standing next to something designed to be ugly. If you have ever left a website with a subscription you didn't mean to buy, ever accepted terms you never read because the box was already checked, ever picked the medium because the large was ridiculous and the small felt stingy, you have felt the grid steering your hand. Tonight I want to sit with you in that moment just before the click, the moment when you can still rebuild the menu and come home to your own life. Look at how default works on your nervous system. A box comes pre-checked. Send me promotions. Renew automatically. Share my data to improve experience. You didn't choose. You inherited a choice. Your mind treats the default like a hint from the grown-ups. This must be the reasonable path, the community norm, the way smart people do it. So you let the river carry you. But defaults are not wisdom. They are design. They take advantage of a gentle truth about humans. We respect what already exists. It feels costly to undo. It feels safer to let it be. And so the default becomes a quiet law. When you see it, name it. Say, softly, this is pre-decided, not decided. Uncheck if you mean it, or leave it checked because you actually want it, but let either move be yours. Order effects are just as quiet. The first option gets a halo because it arrives like a host. The last option gets heat because it stands next to the door. Sales pages know this. Job applications know this. Even the way we ask questions in a room knows this. Whoever speaks first sets the map, Whoever speaks last writes the outro your brain remembers. If you want to see your own judgment again, scramble the order. Read from the bottom up. Ask the quiet person to go first for once. When a menu says basic, plus, pro, read it backwards. Pro, plus, basic. Then ask which one serves the job, not the ego. You'll feel how the shine moves when the order moves. That shine is not value. It is lighting. Then there is the decoy, my favorite imposter. 3 options sit on a page. 2 are close in price. The third is weird, too expensive for what it offers, or only slightly cheaper with far less value. You think you are comparing all 3. You're not. The decoy isn't meant to be chosen. It's meant to make its neighbor look inevitable. This is how we end up convinced that the middle is reasonable, that the premium is value, that the bundle is smart. We don't see the stagehand sneaking the decoy into place to tilt the scene. No anger needed. Just notice the trick and bring in a 4th option. None of the above. You are allowed to leave the theater. The grid lives in relationships, too. Either we talk every hour or you don't care. A false menu. Either you take this job now or you're not ambitious. A false menu. Either you back me without questions or you're disloyal. A false menu. People don't always mean to trap you. They're just scared, and fear loves the simplicity of 2 doors. You can be kind and still redraw the plan. I care, and I also need focus. Can we agree on a window? I am ambitious, and I also won't sign blind. Let me see the terms. I love you, and I won't outsource my judgment to prove it. When you add a third path, you do not escape responsibility. You create it. The grid also hides in calendars and agendas that pretend to be neutral. One agenda puts the cost first and the benefits in the back. Another puts the benefits first and runs out of time before the risks. The result is the same. The box you want filled gets the minutes. The box you fear gets the clock. If you lead, declare your default out loud. Here is the order we will use, and here's why. Ask the team to rebuild the sequence if they see bias. If the default is opt-in, say so. If it's opt-out, say so, and make opting out easy and dignified. Clean power doesn't need hidden currents. It can label its wiring and still light the room. There is a story I tell myself whenever a page tries to hurry me. If this choice is truly mine, I can rebuild the menu before I decide. Rebuilding can be small. You can write your own options on paper, even if the screen doesn't show them. You can add wait a day as a choice alongside by now. You can ask the missing question, what would I do if this didn't exist? You can call a friend whose values you respect and borrow their calm voice for 5 minutes. You can decide your personal default ahead of time. My default is no to auto-renew. My default is no to data sharing. My default is yes to anything that protects time with my child. When you carry your own defaults, other people's defaults stop feeling like fate. I want to step into a small, ordinary scene with you. You're at a counter. 3 sizes of coffee. The medium is large enough to keep a small city awake. The large is a joke with a lid. The small is reasonable, but the price difference makes you feel like a fool for not getting value. The decoy is working. The order is working. So you do something tiny and radical. You remember what you actually want. Not a bargain. Not a story for the cashier. Not proof that you are good at life. Just coffee. You choose the size that fits the morning in your hand. You leave with a cup and a little more of yourself. Nobody claps. You don't need them to. Your life gets built in moments exactly like this, the ones nobody films. In public life, the grid can change the shape of a country. A form says opt-out for privacy instead of opt-in. Participation skyrockets because inertia is now a policy. A ballot lists candidates in an order that nudges a percentage point here, a percentage point there, enough to tilt history in a close race. A hospital sets its default to life-saving interventions or to palliative comfort, and families feel the weight of that default in their grief for years. The lesson is not paranoia. It is humility. Menu makers have power. That power should be transparent and revisable. If you design systems, design with consent in mind, declare defaults, make exit simple, and invite citizens to help rebuild the grid. Rebuild menus before choosing sounds grand. It is, in practice, very human. When your partner asks pizza or sushi, you can add cook together without being difficult. When a recruiter offers full-time in office or full-time remote, you can propose a schedule that fits the work and your body. When your child says, "Can I have the tablet or the TV?" you can add, "Let's go outside for 15 minutes and then decide." It's not about winning. It's about remembering that life is bigger than the box's anxious moments draw. There is a moral line here, and I want to paint it clearly. The choice grid becomes forbidden touch when you hide defaults, bury opt-outs, stack the order to erase dissent, or deploy decoys to harvest the vulnerable. Don't do it. If your idea only wins because the menu is crooked, your idea hasn't won. The stage has. Fix the stage. Tell the truth about what you want. Give people a graceful no. If your offer is good, it will survive daylight and the possibility of refusal. If it isn't, 1,000 clever menus won't save it. They'll only erode whatever trust you were trying to build. And to the part of you that is tired of fighting the current, hear this. You don't have to fight. You have to pause. One breath long enough to say, what are the hidden defaults? How is the order steering me? Which option is a decoy? What option is missing? That's it. 4 soft questions nobody will see you ask. Then choose with a clean yes or a clean no. The world will keep arranging grids that pretend to be neutral. You will keep walking through them with your own compass in your hand. Before we close, take this with you like a pocket card. When you open a page or a conversation, smile to yourself and whisper, declare the default, find the decoy, shuffle the order, add my option. If you lead, say it out loud and give others permission to do the same. If you buy, if you sign, if you love, if you vote, if you parent, carry it. Your life is not just the choices you make. It is the menus you accept. Build better menus. Make opting out easy. Put the truth in the first slot sometimes and the cost right beside it. In a culture that confuses frictionless with good, your small, thoughtful pauses are a revolution. Write your options in your own handwriting. Then walk the one that feels like freedom when the page is closed and the lights are off. Protocol 11. The memory edit. Memory doesn't play back the past. It paints it again with the colors of today. The louder the feeling, the wetter the brush. That is why 2 honest people can walk out of the same night carrying different stories, and why a dishonest one can repeat a polished version until it starts to feel like the only truth in the room. Repetition, selective recall, and outright gaslighting don't just change opinions, they reconstruct the past. The Mareska name for this is the memory edit, and the only way to stay free inside it is beautifully simple. Keep receipts, compare stories to records, and let calm do the talking. Think about how your mind handles yesterday. It keeps a few snapshots, then fills the space between with meaning. The snapshot says you were late. The meaning says you never care. The snapshot says they raised their voice. The meaning says they tried to hurt me. That second sentence is often where the edit lives. Not because you're a liar, but because memory is a storyteller, not a stenographer. When the stakes rise, the storyteller gets protective and the story gets sharp, sometimes sharper than the facts can hold. The problem is not that we feel. The problem is that we let feeling become evidence. If you want a life built on truth, you don't kill feeling. You separate it from the record and make them sit side by side like 2 good witnesses. Repetition is the oldest ink in the memory edit. Say a line enough times, we agreed, you promised, this always happens, and the brain starts to relax around it. Familiarity dresses up as fact. This is why slogans win elections and why families remember a myth about how we do things here that nobody ever actually voted on. Exposure becomes evidence. But exposure is not evidence. Evidence is dated, specific, and checkable. It lives in notes, timestamps, emails, version histories, photos with context, messages that survive the mood they were born in. When the story returns with big, smooth edges, your first move is not a speech. It is a gentle question that ends in a screen. What did we write? When did we send it? What changed after that? The arrogance of a false memory collapses under a calendar. Selective recall is quieter. It's the highlight reel. Our good reasons, their bad moments. The brain loves this because it keeps us loyal to our own narrative. It also ruins repair. Picture an argument where two people are sure the other started the fire. Each can list 10 sparks, and each forgets the one they threw. The memory edit in these moments is not even malicious. It's merciful to the ego. So you build a habit that feels small and turns out to be sacred. You keep a neutral ledger. Short notes after big talks. Key decisions with who, what, when written in plain words. Not to turn love into a courtroom, but to make love safe from exaggeration. When you disagree later, you can say, "I feel hurt," and the note says we both agreed to pause at 7 p.m. Let's start from there. Feelings stay honored. History stays honest. Gaslighting is the dark edge. That never happened. You made it up. You're too sensitive. Everyone knows I wouldn't do that. Here the memory edit is weaponized to erase reality and make you doubt yourself. If you're inside that fog, remember this. Uncertainty is normal. Erasure is not. The antidote isn't shouting. It's evidence with a steady voice. I'm open to being wrong on parts, and here's the message from Tuesday at 9:13 p.m. Let's read it together. If the response to records is more smoke, mockery, moving goalposts, new stories that hide from receipts, then you've met a person who prefers control over truth. You don't have to diagnose them. You do have to protect your mind. Compare their story to the records. If they never meet the records, step back until your reality stops shaking. Workplaces are libraries of memory edits. A meeting ends with a plan. A week later, the plan has shifted and the room always intended the new path. A slide says, "as we agreed," and you watch yourself disappear from your own contribution. The defense is practical, not dramatic. Send a summary while the ink is fresh. Date it. Name owners and next steps in plain language. Keep minutes that can be skimmed by a tired future. When a revision arrives pretending to be original intent, you don't kill it, you place it. Good update, this is new. Here's the initial decision on the 12th. Let's log the change and the reason. You're not playing gotcha. You're keeping the team in reality. And reality is the only place good work survives. Public life runs on memory edits with better lighting. A false claim repeats until it feels inevitable. A fact returns with new adjectives, clearly, obviously, as everyone knows, and the room tires before it checks. This is where your personal receipts become civic hygiene. Sources saved when you read them. Screenshots with dates. Links to primary documents. A habit of asking, when did we first hear this? What was said then? What changed? You don't need a degree to practice this. You need a refusal to outsource your memory to people who profit when you forget. The memory edit also lives inside your private voice. I always mess things up. That is a story told by a part of you that wants to keep you safe by making you small. Keep receipts on yourself, too. Pages where you finished the thing, showed up, righted the wrong, learned the skill. Not to brag to the mirror, but to hand truth to the anxious narrator who only remembers your worst day. Self-trust is not a feeling, it's a file. Build it. Keep receipts does not mean weaponize receipts. Evidence is a scalpel. Do not use it like a club. The point is not to win scenes. The point is to keep reality available so repair is possible. When you bring records to a conversation, bring humility with them. This is how I remember it. Here's what I wrote that night. Show me what you have. Sometimes you will discover you were the one whose feeling painted over the snapshot. Say so. Your credibility rises when the records correct you, not just when they correct someone else. In a house where truth can ask anyone to kneel, love stands taller. Version history is a quiet miracle. In documents, in designs, in policies, in plans, turn it on. It lets you see the path, not just the destination. It lowers drama by making change normal and explicit. Screenshots with timestamps do the same for fleeting screens that lie about their past. Photos with context, who was there, what the moment meant, hold more than pixels. Even your calendar, used well, becomes proof. We met, we decided, we paused. And when you move cities or phones or jobs, back up what matters. The memory edit loves fresh starts because it can erase what no one saved. There's a sentence I whisper when a debate starts to warp the past. Feelings first, facts next, records last. I let the emotion be named so nobody has to wrestle it while we check. Then I ask for the facts as we remember them. Then I bring the records, not to embarrass, but to anchor. If the records disagree with our favorite lines, we change the lines. It's not romantic. It's how grown people stay close. The opposite is how resentments breed. Two people certain of two different movies, no projector in sight. If you're tempted to use the memory edit on someone else, to repeat until they fold, to sand off your own fault, to tell the version that keeps you shiny, pause. That is forbidden touch. It steals more than a win. It steals trust that would have fed you for years. Tell the truth and let it make you human. Say, I forgot. I was wrong. I exaggerated. I wanted to look better than I was. The apology you fear will lower you is the bridge that will carry you farther than the story you polish. Carry one pocket ritual from tonight. After any conversation that matters, write 2 small lines. What we decided, what I felt. Date it. If a conflict returns, read the line before you speak. If a claim arrives with confidence but no proof, slow the room and ask for the file. If someone says that never happened, let the record speak and let your tone remain kind. And when your own mind insists that you've always been this way, open the folder where you weren't. Truth is not a hammer. It's a gentle friend who holds your hand when the crowd gets loud inside your head. The memory edit will always be with us. We will always remember with brushes, not with tape. That's not a flaw. That's how meaning is made. But when meaning pretends to be measurement, we lose ourselves. Keep receipts, notes, timestamps, version history. Compare stories to records. Let feeling have a voice and record have the vote. In a world that repeats until false sounds true, your calm archive is a rebellion. In a life you must live from the inside, your honest ledger is a crown. Protocol 12. The algorithmic governor. You think you are watching the feed, but the feed is watching you. You believe you are choosing what to see, but what you see is slowly choosing who you become. That is the paradox, and it is happening quietly in the background of your ordinary day. The algorithmic governor is not a villain in a cloak. It is a mirror that guesses. It watches what you hover over, what you replay, what you skip at the last second. It measures the tiny tremor in your attention, the way your eyes hesitate on a face, a headline, a flame. It stacks those measurements into a pattern and builds a shadow version of you, a predicted you, then turns that shadow into a compass for what to show you next. At first it feels helpful, like a friend finishing your sentence. Later it becomes a river, and you find yourself drifting in a current you did not mean to enter, repeating thoughts you did not choose to practice, carrying emotions you did not plan to feel today. I am not telling you a conspiracy story. This is math, not malice. A system with one job, maximize engagement, will show you whatever keeps you here. If hope keeps you, it will pour hope. If outrage keeps you, it will pour outrage. If you pause longer on disasters, the world it serves will look like endless sirens. If you linger on triumphs, it will paint you a sky of constant victory. The governor does not ask, is this true? Is this good? It asks only, will you stay? And over time, what you stay for becomes what you seek, and what you seek becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes the narrow path your feet call home. Notice how the feed studies your mornings. It learns the scent of your tired, the taste of your first fear. It will offer sweetness when you need sugar, fury when you want fire, numbness when you crave escape. Notice how it studies your nights. The loneliness that arrives at 1:17 a.m. has a signature. and the system has learned it better than your friends have. It will bring you exactly the sorrow that matches your ache, or exactly the drama that drowns your ache, or exactly the fantasy that delays your ache until after midnight. None of this is personal. It is precise. The governor learns the arithmetic of your attention and optimizes for it. And then something subtle happens. The predicted you begins to train the real you. The menu teaches the appetite. The loop closes with a soft click. There is mercy in seeing the loop. The moment you name it, this is a prediction, not a destiny. You create air between stimulus and response. Air is freedom. Air is the space where you can ask gentle questions without shaming yourself. What was I looking for before the feed found me? What did I plan for this hour? What emotion is the system handing me? And does it fit the life I want to build? These are small questions with large doors behind them. They turn the unstoppable river back into something you can step beside and watch. Curation sounds like a hard word, but it is really a soft practice, a string around your finger that reminds you who you wanted to be before the noise. Curating inputs on purpose is not about purity or perfection. It is about direction. Follow voices that make you slower, kinder, more rigorous. Follow pages that cite their sources, that change their minds when evidence changes. Mute what makes you cruel to strangers. Mute what makes you cruel to yourself. Your attention teaches your future how to think, and your future is listening. Add randomness like a window cracked open in a locked room. Follow 3 people you strongly disagree with but quietly respect, not to argue with them but to stretch your edge. Ask the feed for topics you know nothing about, a craft, a science, a poem, and let your mind remember how discovery feels without conflict. Randomness interrupts the spiral where your predicted self tightens into a caricature. It is not chaos. It is breathing. It tells the governor, I am bigger than the profile you wrote about me, and the system must adjust. It will not love this, but it will listen. Review your For You logs the way you would review your bank statements, without drama, just clarity. What did the feed assume you want this week? More anger. More gadgets. More flawless bodies that leave you feeling less at home inside your own? When you see the pattern, you can interrupt the payment plan. You can click less on the thrill that costs you peace. You can click more on the hard, slow things that grow you quietly. You can pause when the headline tells you to roar, and breathe when the image tells you to shrink. The audit is not punishment. It is an act of care. Notice how the governor stretches your emotions and then offers the cure it created the sickness for. It spikes your stress with fear, then sells you relief. It empties your focus with fragments, then sells you tools to concentrate. This is not evil. It is efficient. A system that discovers a reliable cause will also sell a reliable remedy. You do not have to accept the diagnosis or the prescription. You can lower the volume of the room. You can turn your phone face down while you eat. You can keep 1 hour a day that belongs to books, trees, or silence. You can let boredom touch you again until your own thoughts remember how to speak. There is a gentle discipline in choosing the temperature of your mind before you meet the feed. If you arrive anxious, it will make you more so. If you arrive grounded, it may still shake you, but you will return faster to the floor you built. The floor is made of small things. Sleep that lets your prefrontal quiet the sirens, movement that lets your body burn the extra electricity, stillness that lets your nervous system descend from red to green. None of this sells well because it is not fast, but the governor respects it. It cannot govern you easily when your breath is slow. Let us be honest together. Part of the feed's hold is our loneliness. We want to feel that someone sees us, even if that someone is a pattern that learned our pause. We want to feel that we matter, even if mattering is measured in seconds watched and taps counted. I will not shame you for this. I feel it too. But there is a difference between being seen and being scored. One nourishes a human, the other feeds a machine. Ask for the first more often. Practice the conversations that are not recorded. Stand in a kitchen with someone you love and let the kettle sing while you say the true thing slowly. You can also teach the governor who you are becoming by training it gently. Click on the long-form lecture even if you will not finish it tonight. Let it know that your hunger includes depth. Save the article that argues against your favorite idea and actually read it. Let the system learn that your curiosity has range. Skip the 10th video that makes you angry in the same way. Let the loop starve. Send a signal that your nervous system is not a product and your soul is not a metric. These are small rebellions with soft hands. They change the room. And when the feed tries to convince you that the world is only what it shows, remember that reality is larger than the window. Goodness is quieter than virality. Repair does not trend like ruin. The meadow outside your door has no algorithm. The person across the table has no autoplay. The book on your shelf will not adapt to your impatience. Step toward these things when you can. They will not reward you instantly. They will reward you honestly. The algorithmic governor is powerful, but it is not sovereign. It can predict you, then shape you, but only if you forget you have a say. Curate your inputs on purpose. Add randomness like fresh air. Review the shadow it writes about you and mark it up with a pen. Teach it that your attention belongs to your values. Teach it that your outrage has a gatekeeper and your hope has a spine. Teach it that your consent must be asked, not assumed. And if tonight you do only one thing, make it small and human. Close the app after this and sit in the soft dark for 60 seconds. Listen for your own voice beneath the scroll. Ask it a simple question. What do you want to feel tomorrow morning when you wake up? Then choose one input tonight that serves that feeling. This is not a grand plan. It is a single stitch. But enough stitches make a garment, and one day you will look down and realize you are clothed in a life you chose. That is the quiet rebellion. That is the Mareska way. Protocol 13. The identity lever. A flag can make a lie feel loyal. A jersey can make cruelty sound like teamwork. When identity gets loud, judgment gets quiet, and the worst part is we feel proud while we cross lines we swore we'd never touch. That is the paradox I want in your hands tonight. The same bond that keeps us brave can also blind us. Sacred values and group identity can bless shortcuts and rename harm as necessary. If you want to stay human when the chant gets warm and the room starts nodding, you need something simple and unshakable, a personal ethics flaw that never moves, not even for your side. Think about how quickly identity writes the rules. You put on the shirt, the badge, the ring, the lanyard. Suddenly your sentences grow uniforms too. For the mission. For the brand. For the family. For the country. The words are not evil. They point to love, to duty, to belonging. But belonging has a dangerous cousin, exemption. Once a value becomes sacred, it begins to whisper that ordinary rules are for other people. A team bends a metric just this quarter. A movement hides a messy fact until we win. A family tells the truth everywhere but at home. You feel the slope under your feet, slick with good intentions, and you call it momentum. If you've ever watched a group you admire justify something small, an insult that keeps standards high, a smear that protects the cause, a lie that saves the brand, you know the identity lever at work. It doesn't ask you to become a villain. It asks you to become a believer. And believers, when cornered by outcomes, will trade methods for victory and call it maturity. The pressure is quiet and sweet. It says, do it for us. It says, you're one of us. It says, we don't have the luxury of purity. It uses history like a drum and fear like a fog machine. And if you dare to ask for the old truth, you'll be accused of betrayal by people who love you and by the part of you that wants to keep their love. I won't ask you to stop loving your people. I am asking you to love them with your eyes open. The ethics flaw is how you do it. It's a few plain lines you write while the room is calm, lines you refuse to move when the room gets hot. It's not a performance and not a speech. It's a promise you make to the person in the mirror and keep when nobody claps. It sounds like this in an ordinary life. I don't lie about safety, even if my team needs the sale. I don't humiliate anyone to prove a point, even if the joke would win the room. I don't edit records, even if the clean version saves my reputation. I don't dehumanize the other side, even if my side would cheer. I don't violate consent to speed results, even if the deadline is real. You don't need 30 commandments. You need a floor your conscience can stand on when the chant begins. The lever works inside households too. We don't air dirty laundry. It sounds wise until silence becomes the family's sacred violence. You can keep loyalty and still refuse to lie. You can say, we protect each other and we also face what hurts us. You can love your elders and still end a cycle. Your flaw may be as small as this: I will not cover harm with love language. I will not teach a child that peace means swallowing their truth. Identity that cannot hold truth is not a home. It is a museum. At work, the lever wears a suit. The slide says, we are all owners here, and the room glows. It's a beautiful identity, until ownership becomes the mask for unpaid labor and unasked risks. Your flaw is the measure that keeps belonging from turning into theft. You can say, I'm proud of this team, and pride won't replace pay. I'm loyal to our mission, and loyalty won't erase consent. If you lead, your flaw must be visible enough to rest under other people's feet. Put it in policy. Put it in the agenda. Protect dissent with your voice when it's quiet, not just when it's fashionable. A leader's identity should be the first thing that kneels to the floor. In politics and faith, the lever becomes a cathedral. Sacred words gather, sacred colors wave, sacred songs rise, and inside that beauty the room asks for sacrifices it would never ask in ordinary light. If your ethics only work on weekdays, you have an outfit, not a soul. Hold your flaw in the sanctuary and the stadium. If a claim needs holiness to survive, it cannot bear sunlight. If a plan requires an enemy to feel moral, it cannot bear nuance. Keep reverence for what is worthy, and still ask the human questions that flaws are built to answer. Who pays? Who breaks? Who is erased? Who cleans the room when our triumph ends? The lever also works in your own chest. I'm the good one. I'm the honest one. I'm the tough one. Identities that look virtuous can be cages that make you cruel. The good one lies to keep the peace. The honest one cuts people under the flag of truth. The tough one refuses to rest until their body protests with a louder language. Your flaw can save you from your favorite mask. It says, I tell the truth without stripping dignity. It says, I keep promises without breaking myself. It says, I am brave, and bravery includes stopping. How do you write your flaw? Not by reading another book. Not by waiting for a crisis. You write it tonight, in the language of a person who will have to live it tomorrow. You write sentences that begin with I will and I won't, with words a tired version of you can understand. You choose things you can actually do. You ask one person you respect to read it and circle anything that sounds like a slogan. You refine until it is plain enough to whisper in a hallway outside a hard meeting. The simpler the flaw, the harder it is to move. If it embarrasses you for being basic, good. Basic is what bends under pressure and still holds. Then you practice the two hardest moments. The first is when your team asks you to move the line just this time. Not with malice, out of fear. They will show you a picture of loss. They will play you a song of urgency. They will say the quiet thing aloud. If you don't bend, you don't belong. You breathe and stay kind. You say, I love us, and I won't do this. You offer the longer road. You stand in the discomfort long enough for better minds to arrive. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they won't. Belonging that depends on your obedience to harm is a life without skin. Let it go. The second moment is when you are the one tempted to move it. You will feel reasonable. You will say the adult words, context, nuance, necessary evil. You will polish a sentence that makes you sound wise while you step on someone smaller. Catch yourself. The floor is not a cage. It is a friend who knocks when you start to perform. If you ignore the knock, you'll get what you thought you wanted and hate the person who wanted it. If you answer, you might lose something now to keep something larger. There are losses you can live with and losses you carry like a stone for years. Your flaw helps you choose which is which. You might ask, isn't a never-moving floor rigid? No. It's simple. Rigid is refusing new evidence. Simple is refusing old harm. A floor can be humble and still firm. It can say, "I was wrong," without saying, "Anything goes." It can listen to the other side without handing them the steering wheel. It can learn and keep its shape. The point isn't to become a statue. The point is to become a person who cannot be bought by weather. There will be times when keeping your floor makes you lonely. People will misunderstand. They will call your refusal arrogance or softness or betrayal. You will want to explain until they love you again. Explain if you must. But remember the strange math of integrity. The cost is paid in public, the return arrives in private. Sleep will come back. Self-respect will make coffee taste like a blessing again. The right people will find you, the ones who can hold you without asking you to bend where you shouldn't. And there will be times when your floor rescues a room. Someone will say, "We can't afford to be ethical right now," and you will say, with a calm that lands like furniture, "We can't afford not to." You won't perform. You won't shame. You'll repeat the lines that never move, and then you'll offer a path that honors them. Often the room was waiting for permission to do the right thing. Groups love to be brave. They just need a first voice that makes bravery sound normal. If you're tempted to use the identity lever on others, to stir sacred heat so their questions melt, stop. That's forbidden touch. It wins tonight and empties your future. Build your case in daylight. Earn agreement with clarity. Let people say no without losing face. If your side deserves to win, it will win with clean hands. If it doesn't, your flaw will keep you from teaching your own heart to cheer for damage. Carry this simple vow when we end. I will belong without selling my soul. I will love my team without lying for it. I will hold sacred things without turning them into excuses. When identity gets loud, I will let my ethics speak first. And if the room asks me to lift the floor, I will answer with steady kindness. This does not move. In a world that forgives anything done in the right colors, be the person whose colors include the truth. In a life you must answer for when the music stops. Let your name be the one you kept when the chant said change. Protocol 14. The boundary wall. You don't burn out because you are weak. You burn out because your life has no fence and everything walks straight through you. Every yes you give to avoid a tiny moment of discomfort becomes a slow no to the person you're trying to become. Tonight I want to place a calm, human truth in your hands. Boundaries are not punishments, they are doors you own. The boundary wall is not made of stone. It is made of sentences you are willing to repeat without shaking. Clear limits protect autonomy and focus. Stated early, stated kindly, stated again. No is complete. No apology required. Think about the last time you said yes while your whole body was saying no. The smile came first, the explanation second, and the resentment third, quiet, polite, corrosive. You didn't lie because you're a bad person. You lied because you were taught that peace is purchased with self-erasure. But peace built on self-erasure is just a countdown to anger. The Mareska way turns that clock off. We do it with a small practice that looks simple from the outside and feels like courage from the inside. We state terms early, calmly, and repeat them when the wind picks up. A boundary is a sentence about your gate. Not about their worth. Not about their motives. About your gate. I don't work Sundays. I don't discuss private matters over text. I am available 10 to 2 for meetings. I can't lend money. I can help you think. I will leave if shouting starts. The first time you say a line like that, your chest will tighten. Your nervous system will whisper dangerous myths. They will leave. They will hate you. You are selfish. Those are old alarms, not prophesies. Say the line anyway, softly, and standing up straight. Notice what happens in your body when the sentence lands in the air. A sound like something heavy returning to the floor. Boundaries are not what you tell people after they cross the line. They are what you tell people before they arrive. The earlier you speak, the kinder it feels. If you wait until you are exhausted, your no will come out as an explosion and you will call yourself dramatic. You are not dramatic, You are late. Give your future self the gift of being early. When a new collaboration begins, say how you work best. When a relationship deepens, say how conflict will be handled. When a family pattern tries to pull you back into an old role, say what you won't play anymore. You're not issuing rules to control others. You are describing the conditions under which you can love them well. Sometimes people test your gate gently, like a hand on a doorknob. They ask just this once. They say it would mean the world. They remind you of a time you bent for them. This is where repetition becomes sacred. I care about you, and my answer is still no. Say it the same way you'd say your address, without heat, without defense. If they push, repeat. If they pout, repeat. The more calm you are, the faster the lesson arrives. Your boundary is not a debate. It is part of the geography here. People don't have to like your fence to learn where it is. The ones worth keeping will adjust their path and keep walking toward you. There will be people who label your limits as cold. Let them. You didn't build a wall to keep love out. You built a wall so love could have a home. When everything is allowed, intimacy dies by clutter. Focus dies by interruptions. Creative work dies by 1,000 friendly requests that all sounded reasonable alone and together stole the season. The boundary wall is how you keep a season intact. It is how a morning stays a morning, how your body keeps its sleep, how your art gets a door that closes and a window that opens on command. At work, boundaries turn chaos into craft. A clear default: I respond to email twice a day, no meetings after 3, deadlines are real, scope must change if time can't, protects entire teams from the slow violence of endless urgency. If you lead, model the wall. State the terms in public. Protect them when the biggest client leans on the door. Let your people see you choose principle over panic. You will be called rigid by those who benefit from your blur. But watch what happens to quality when your wall holds. Fewer fires, deeper work, quieter rooms where thinking can actually happen. In love, boundaries are oxygen. I won't be texted during work unless it's urgent. If it's urgent, call. I don't threaten to leave during conflict. I need 30 minutes alone after we argue before we try again. These lines are not cold. They are warmth with a spine. They prevent the panic dances that lovers do when pace and space are unclear. They turn fights into solvable problems. They keep tenderness from drowning in demand. The person who is hungry for your yes will learn to love your no if they understand what your no protects. Your capacity to keep loving them tomorrow. There's a quiet fear under most boundary problems. If I don't explain enough, they will think I'm cruel. Listen to me now. Explanations can be kind, but they are not required for dignity. No is a complete sentence because your life is not a courtroom and the people who love you are not a jury. Offer brief context if it helps. Don't offer your childhood as evidence. Don't offer your calendar as a confession. The longer your speeches, the more permission you give people to negotiate with your core. Keep your core out of the marketplace. It is not for sale. You will need a boundary with your own mind, too. The part of you that wants to perform goodness will try to reopen the gate after you close it. It will invent intricate reasons why this is the one time you must be available to all people in all ways. Place a hand on your heart and say, "We keep our word to ourselves." Then do the dull thing that protects your vow. Turn the phone face down, leave the room, say, "I'm leaving this chat now, we can resume tomorrow." Schedule the work block and honor it as if it belonged to someone you respect, because it does. Not all no sounds like refusal. Sometimes it sounds like design. When you say, "I don't do calls after dinner," you can add, "But I'm free at 10 tomorrow." When you say, "I can't take on that project," you can add, "Here's a timeline that would make it possible next quarter." A wall with a well-placed gate is still a wall. Boundaries with options create dignity for both sides. You are not responsible for erasing someone's disappointment. You are responsible for telling the truth in a way you can live with. There will be consequences to keeping your wall. Some invitations won't come back. Some people will call you difficult because you won't wear their schedule like a collar. Bless what leaves. The space it creates is not empty. It is breathable. In that space you will put the things you are starving, sleep you can feel, work you're proud of, friends who don't need you to bleed to prove love, a relationship with your own attention that doesn't feel like custody. Boundaries are not about becoming untouchable. They are about becoming reachable by the life you actually want. If you need a sentence to carry, make it this: I will say what I mean, early and kind, and I will stop when I have said it. Practice it at the coffee shop. Practice it in your inbox. Practice it with the person who taught you that no is rude by making you survive their endless yes. Then notice how your days change when your calendar begins to believe you. Notice how your anger softens when your mouth protects you before your rage has to. Notice how your talent grows when interruptions become rare and chosen. I want to speak to the guilt that arrives when you rest. It will say, others are working. It will say, you haven't earned it. It will say, just this one more. Guilt is not a guide. It is a burglar alarm that never learned the new address. Teach it. We work within our fence. We rest within our fence. We are not less generous for being finite. Your boundary is not against people. It is against the fantasy that you are infinite. You are not. And thank God, because scarcity gives your yes its beauty. If you said yes to everything, your yes would mean nothing. When someone crosses your line after you've spoken it, do the calm thing that feels like adulthood. Enforce without drama. We discussed this. I'm stepping away now. I won't be available by text. Please email. I said no. Asking again will damage trust. Your tone is the wall's mortar. If you scream, the wall becomes a weapon. If you vanish, the wall becomes fog. If you stand and repeat, the wall becomes part of the landscape, and even those who disliked it will learn to lean on it because it does not move. If you attempted to use boundaries as punishment, silent treatment, sudden cutoffs, moving the line to control, pause. That is forbidden touch. Boundaries serve clarity, not power. They are a way to love smarter, not a way to win. State the wall. State the gate. Keep your dignity. Let people keep theirs. If they cannot live with your terms, bless their path. And know that freeze both sides is kinder than a yes that keeps two people pretending. Before we end, picture your week like a small city and walk its perimeter with me. Where will your morning wall stand so your mind can return before the world arrives? Where does your workday end and your life begin? Which conversations require a gate code? And what is it? Who gets the key? And who must knock? Write 2 lines tonight, not 20. Tape them to the inside of your day. Say them out loud in a room where you are alone. Then say them out loud in a room where you are not. Clear limits protect autonomy and focus. Stated early, calmly, and repeated. No is complete. No apology required. Let people feel what they feel about your fence. Feelings are weather. Your wall is climate. It keeps your seasons from breaking. It keeps your soil fertile. It keeps a place for love to grow in rows you can tend with your own 2 hands. And when the world asks for more than you can give, you will smile with a peace they may not understand and say the 2 words that saved your life: not today. Protocol 15. The transparency key. Power rots in the dark. It grows clean in the sun. The fastest way to lose someone's trust is to win them with a trick. The fastest way to earn it is to show your hand and still be chosen. Tonight is simple and hard. Transparency is not a press release. It is a way of moving through the world where disclosure, reversibility, and consent turn power into something people can lean on without fear. When you hold the transparency key, you don't need smoke. You can open the door in daylight. Think of the last time you felt uneasy with a person or a product and you couldn't say why. The sentences were fine, the smile was fine, the price was fine, but something in your chest kept a small fist closed. Most of the time the fist is hiding one question: what aren't you telling me? Secrets are heavy even when they are small. Hidden fees, hidden motives, hidden strings. Our nervous system is older than marketing, and it knows when a room refuses to say the quiet part out loud. Transparency is the opposite sensation. It's the moment someone says the thing you were afraid to ask. and your shoulders drop because consent finally has oxygen. Disclosure is where it starts. That doesn't mean dumping your diary on the table. It means naming intent and incentives in plain speech before the other person has to guess. Here's what I want. Here's what I get if you say yes. Here's what it costs you. Here's what happens if you say no. That sentence sounds risky until you hear what it buys. Freedom on both sides. You don't have to manage anyone's perception. They don't have to manage their suspicion. And the decision you make together belongs to both of you. Even a no feels clean when it was invited by the whole truth. In love, disclosure sounds like this. I want closeness, and I get anxious when I don't hear from you. My ask is 2 check-ins a day, and if that doesn't work for your rhythm, let's design something we both can keep. In work, it sounds like this. I'm proposing this scope because it's profitable for us at this rate. My incentive is margin and case study. Yours is outcome and timeline. If we miss, here is what we'll refund or redo. In leadership, it sounds like this. Here is the policy. Here is who wins and who loses under it. Here are the metrics that might make us reverse it. Transparency is not confession. It is architecture. You show how the room is built so people can decide if they want to live in it. Reversibility is the second tooth on the key. The harder something is to undo, the stricter your standard of consent must be. Most harm doesn't happen at the moment of decision. It happens when no way back was disguised as quick try. Good power plans for regret. It offers ramps instead of cliffs. It says, you can cancel in 1 click, not please hold for 40 minutes. It says, we'll put it in writing that you can walk away at milestone 2, not trust me, we'll figure it out. It says, cooling off period, not sign now or lose it forever. Reversibility doesn't make you weak. It makes you confident that your value can survive a second look. Consent is the light that fills the room once disclosure and reversibility are in place. You don't rush a person whose yes you want to keep. You hand them the facts, you hand them the exit, and then you hand them time. Consent is not a checkbox. It is a tone. It survives the morning after. It means the other side could change their mind and still be welcome in the relationship because the relationship was never dependent on leverage. If you need panic to win, you have not won anything worth keeping. There is a myth that transparency is bad strategy. The truth is the opposite. Hidden interests are brittle. Disclosed interests are negotiable. Imagine walking into a negotiation and saying, here are my non-negotiables. Here is where I can flex. Here is what would make this a win for me. People will test you less because you've already tested yourself. They will push you less because your edges are visible. And when you hold, it will feel like integrity, not surprise. You already know what the opposite feels like. A page that offers one price in large, and a different price at the last click. A leader who says family when they mean overtime. A partner who calls boundaries attitude. The body remembers those rooms and it doesn't forgive them easily. You can build a life where people don't have to brace themselves around you. It starts with small, unfancy habits. Say the motive before the pitch. Put the fees on the first screen. Explain the downside in the same breath as the upside. Put the refund policy where a tired mind can find it. Mean it when they use it. Let me bring this to moments you can taste. You're selling something. Don't bury what you make or how you make it. We make money if you upgrade. We designed this lower tier so you never have to. You're hiring. This role is wonderful and sometimes lonely. You'll need to ask for help out loud. We reward the work, not the performative urgency. You're starting a relationship. I overwork when I'm scared. If I withdraw, I'll say so. If we fight, I won't threaten to leave. These sentences don't lower your value. They raise your credibility. Trust is a speed multiplier. Work goes faster when people stop doing background checks with their feelings. The transparency key also asks something of your pride. If you want to be trusted, you must be interruptible by the truth. When better data arrives, show it and change. When a promise cannot be kept, say it before someone has to corner you. When your model has a glitch, publish the error log along with the fix. You don't lose face by being human. You lose face by hiding the humans until the roof caves in. The best leaders I know love being proven wrong faster than being believed slowly. Their teams relax because there is nothing they cannot say without fear. There is a quiet courage in refunds and reversals. Everyone loves revenue. Not everyone loves returning it. But money you keep against a customer's regret turns into something sour in the relationship. A refund with dignity is not wasted. It is marketing written on the heart. That person may leave your product and keep your name, and when they are ready or their needs change, they'll come back because the last time you let them go without injury. The same is true in love and work. Allow graceful exits. Don't keep people with guilt. Let them say no without paying in shame. You will be surprised how often that freedom turns into loyalty that coercion could never buy. Transparency with yourself matters as much as transparency with others. You can't be honest outside if you're vague inside. Before you enter a room, say your real motive in a sentence you could tell a child. I want approval. I want money. I want control. I want to protect something that matters. None of these make you bad. They make you clear. When you know what you're after, you can be ethical about how you move toward it. When you pretend you want impact but secretly want status, you'll design choices that look noble and feel empty. Self-disclosure is the first audit. Some will say transparency is naive in a world like ours. I say opacity is expensive. Secrets need maintenance. Deception needs theater. The lie you told at step 3 becomes a schedule you must protect at step 30. The clean path looks longer at the beginning and shorter at the end. You pay with a little courage now to save yourself from a lot of repair later. If you're tired of performing sincerity, stop performing and start revealing. There is relief waiting on the other side of plain speech. You may worry that transparency will be used against you. Sometimes it will. Some people hunt for honest targets. Let them hunt elsewhere. If your advantage is only safe in the dark, it will not last. If your craft is real, daylight makes it stronger. We are not talking about publishing trade secrets. We are talking about making the moral skeleton visible. Intent, incentives, terms, exits. Complexity can be private. Consent cannot. If you create systems, write reversibility into them. One-click cancel. Clear data permissions. Version history people can see. If you hire, write the job you're actually offering, not the fantasy a desperate person wants. If you love, narrate your stress and ask for what would help. If you sell, put the ugly parts on the same shelf as the beautiful ones. If you lead, put your biases and your backstops on paper so others can ask better questions. And when you make a mistake, and you will, use the key again. Disclose it, reverse what you can, ask for consent to try again. We missed. Here's how, here's what we are refunding, here's what will change so we don't do this to you again. The apology that names the harm, returns the cost, and shows the fix is the most powerful advertisement for your character you will ever publish. Carry a pocket script for the next hard conversation. Here is what I want. Here is what I get if you agree. Here is what it costs. Here is the way out if this isn't right for you. Here is how to reverse this if you change your mind. Ask me anything, and take your time. Then be the kind of person who keeps those words when it is inconvenient. Trust isn't built when it's easy. It is built when the refund hurts and you do it anyway. Disclosure, reversibility, consent. Reveal intent and incentives. Offer reversals and refunds where possible. These are not slogans, they are hinges. Put them on every door you build. When people walk through and feel the air, no traps, no fog, no shame, they will stay. And even when they don't, they will say your name with a softness that money can't buy. In a culture that confuses clever with good, let your power be simple and bright. Leave the lights on. Invite inspection. Win slowly and keep it. That is the transparency key. Protocol 16. The reversibility rule. Some choices heal with time. Others don't. The tragedy is that we often move fastest on the choices that are hardest to undo. The heart is loud, the room is urgent, the offer is closing, and we spend the future like it's refillable. Tonight I want to hand you a small question that saves lives, money, love, and dignity when it's asked early enough. Can we reverse this? If the answer is no, or not easily, then the standard for proof and consent must rise like a wall you cannot jump. The harder an outcome is to undo, the stricter the consent must be. This is the reversibility rule. Imagine two doors. The first swings both ways. You can step through, look around, and step back with no damage. That's a trial, a pilot, a draft, a prototype, a weekend test. The second door locks behind you. Once you pass through, the world changes your name. That's a surgery, a marriage, a public accusation, a data release, a company-wide policy that reshapes people's days, a financial guarantee you can't pay back, a betrayal you can't unsay. We treat both doors like they deserve the same tempo, the same amount of evidence, the same level of agreement. They don't. Two-way doors are for speed and learning. One-way doors are for patience and proof. Think about your own life. You can try a new habit with a timer and stop if it harms you. You can test a schedule for a week and return to the old one. You can send a draft instead of a manifesto. Two-way. But there are choices your future self has to live in without appeal. Signing a contract you don't understand. Publishing words that stain someone's name. Posting a photo that cannot be called back from the internet. Burning a bridge in the name of pride when what you needed was a boundary in the name of peace. If reversal is hard, slow the moment until the adult in you can arrive. In business, the reversibility rule turns leadership from theater into stewardship. A feature shipped to millions without a rollback plan is not vision. It's negligence wearing a cape. A reorg that collapses teams with no way to reassemble if it fails is not bold. It is expensive denial. Before big moves, ask the boring, holy question. How do we unmake this if it breaks hearts or breaks the system? If you can't answer, you're not ready. Pilot first, scope smaller, add kill switches, set review dates, define what success must look like in numbers, not vibes. When the door is one way, widen the circle of consent. Invite the voices who pay the cost. If people will live inside the choice, they should be in the room where the threshold is named. In love, reversibility is usually spelled time. Saying I need a pause can be reversed. Saying I never loved you rarely can. Moving in is easier to undo than having a baby to fix a loneliness. The rhythm is simple. If the step is hard to reverse, raise the bar for truth and agreement. Don't marry because a clock shouted. Don't threaten to leave to win an argument. The echo of that sentence lingers long after forgiveness. If the move cannot be undone without scars, gather more proof that the relationship can hold it. Ask for counsel from one wise voice that loves both of you, not a chorus that loves taking sides. If you cannot reverse, then consent must be clean, not panicked. With health, the rule can be the difference between healing and harm. Try a supplement? You can stop. Undergo an elective irreversible procedure because a headline promised a new self? Slow down until your calm returns and the evidence is boring in its solidity. Ask for second opinions, publish data, long-term outcomes. The harder it is to reverse, the less you should tolerate charisma and the more you should demand method. Doctors who respect you will never punish you for asking. With technology and data, reversibility deserves a loud voice. Information, once released, begins a life of its own. A platform that harvests your details just to improve experience, but never deletes on request is a one-way door disguised as convenience. Before you click, ask how to leave. Before your company collects customer data for later insights, ask how you will erase it on command. If you can't reverse, you don't own the door, you've rented a cage. The reversibility rule isn't about fear, it's about proportionality. Two-way decisions should be easy to make and easy to stop. One-way decisions should be hard to make and surrounded by tests, timelines, and people who can say no without punishment. Speed belongs to experiments. Slowness belongs to commitments. When leaders mix them up, they call recklessness decisive and call prudence weak. Don't let their adjectives choose your future. Let the door type choose your tempo. There's an everyday way to live this that doesn't require a boardroom or a courtroom. When an offer arrives with music, sign now, speak now, buy now. Ask the question in a voice that sounds like you're protecting a child. Can we reverse this? If yes, try it. If no, raise the bar. Delay a day. Sleep. Ask 3 people who don't need your approval. Write your reasons on paper in short sentences a tired mind can understand. I want this because, I could be wrong because, if it fails, the cost is. If the cost is permanent, your evidence must be boringly solid, not beautifully arranged. The rule has an ethical edge too. If you influence others, never push a one-way decision with two-way consent. Don't hide irreversible terms under reversible language. Don't bury the point of no return on page 7. If you take people through a door that locks, show the lock, name the lock, and give them every chance to turn around before they cross. Where reversals are possible, build them and honor them. Refunds, cooling off periods, trial months, exit ramps with dignity. Clean power proves itself by how easy it makes it to leave. Sometimes you'll face choices that feel one way but aren't. Pride makes reversibility feel impossible. Apology makes it possible again. You can reverse a cold season with a soft word. You can reverse a hard stance with "I was wrong." You can reverse a family script with one honest boundary. The door is not made of iron, it's made of ego. Lower the bar for pride and raise the bar for love. There will be moments when the crowd mocks your caution. They'll say you're overthinking. They'll say winners decide fast. Smile. Winners decide fast on two-way doors and slow on one-way doors. That's why they stay in the game. They run cheap experiments, not expensive mistakes. They are easy to convince when reversal is easy, and very hard to convince when reversal is hard. That's not indecision, that's stewardship. I want to give you a pocket ritual you can use without anyone seeing. When a big move lands, touch your wrist as if there's a watch there and say in your mind, reversible or not? If reversible, pick a start line and a review date. If not reversible, pick a higher standard. More proof, more voices, more time, and a line you will not cross if the evidence doesn't clear it. Then keep your word even if the room wants you to perform bravery. Real bravery is boring from the outside. It looks like waiting, checking, and asking again. There's also a gift in building reversibility into your design of life. Rent before you buy. Freelance before you found. Pilot before you promise. Learn before you launch. Ask for a trial day inside a job if you can. Ask for a trial month inside a contract. In relationships, practice the rhythms you want before you tie a knot you both must carry. In teams, label decisions by door type. This is a two-way, go. This is a one-way, gather proof and consent. Watch how drama drops and quality rises when everyone knows which door they are approaching. And when you do cross a one-way threshold, do it with ceremony. Invite the witnesses whose love will hold you accountable when the glow fades. Say aloud what you are choosing and what you are giving up. Name the risks you accept and the lines you will not step over even if you are tired or proud. If you're leading others through, stop at the door and ask one last time if anyone sees what you have missed. Dissent offered, there is a gift, not a threat. Carry it or you will carry regret. The reversibility rule sounds like caution. It is actually compassion, for your future self, for the people who trust you, for the work that deserves to endure without the poison of shortcuts. Before big moves, ask, can we reverse this? If not, raise the bar for proof and agreement. Slow is not weak when the door locks. Calm is not cowardice when the cost is forever. In a world that rewards speed more loudly than wisdom, let your pace be a quiet crown. Decide fast when you can step back. Decide slowly when you cannot. And when you cannot step back and you still step through, do it with a level of honesty that makes the room feel safe, even on the other side of the lock. Protocol 17. The Audit Trail. Memory is a painter, not a camera. In heat and noise, the one who holds the receipts holds the room. The audit trail is simple and human. Decisions with citations outlive drama and resist manipulation. You do not build it to win arguments with others. You build it to tell the truth to your future self. Think of the last time a moment exploded. A meeting bent in an unexpected direction. A message arrived at midnight. A conversation with someone you love turned sideways. Afterward, the story of what happened began to drift. Words softened or sharpened depending on who repeated them. Motives were attached that no one said out loud. Time passed, and your mind, doing its honest best, filled the gaps with color. This is not dishonesty. It is biology. Recall is reconstruction. That is why the audit trail matters. It is not a museum of perfect memory. It is a small, clear window you install before the weather changes. The practice is gentler than it sounds. You do not need a courtroom. You need a moment of calm attention and a place to put it. When a decision appears, capture it while the air is still. Write what you decided, why you believed it was wise, what you were afraid of, and where you got your facts. If there was disagreement, honor it by recording it. Dissent is not a stain. It is a safeguard. It shows the future that you did not live in an echo. It tells tomorrow that you knew the cost of being wrong and made the choice anyway, with eyes open. Future you is your toughest reviewer. Give them something solid to review. You will be tempted to trust the feeling you had in the moment. Feelings are precious. They are also weather. They can guide but should not govern alone. When you build an audit trail, you are not muting your heart. You are adding a compass. You are saying, I felt this strongly, I thought this clearly, I checked these sources, I considered these risks, and I still chose this. One day, when someone insists that you acted from panic, you will be able to open a page that shows you did not. One day, when your own doubt asks whether you imagined the promise that was made, you will find the date, the words, the context, the quiet sentence you wrote to your future self that begins, for the record. This practice protects relationships. In love, people often argue about what was promised rather than what is possible. A soft audit, made in peacetime, not during a fight, can save tenderness later. Here is what we agreed to try for 3 months. Here is why. Here is how we will check if it is working. Here is what either of us can say to pause and revise. The point is not to trap each other in technicalities. The point is to free each other from revisionist pain. When the check-in day arrives, you are not wrestling ghosts. You are looking at a living note you both authored, and you can tell whether it held. It protects work. Busy rooms generate fog. Deadlines turn memory into propaganda. We think the meeting justified our outcome because we need it to. An audit trail restores oxygen. After the meeting, you capture the decision, the reasoning, the data used, the risks acknowledged, and the names of those who asked hard questions. People behave better when they know tomorrow will read today. That is not fear, that is hygiene. Drama shrinks in the presence of daylight. It protects your money and your time. Many of the traps you fell into last year were not sprung by evil, but by the absence of notes. You bought because a timer blinked. You said yes because the room was loud. You pursued a project because the story sounded clean. Now, you can flip the script. Before you spend, write the sentence you would need to see in a month to say, I would make this purchase again. Before you commit hours, write the outcome that would make future you grateful. Then set a small review date. If the facts change, the audit trail gives you permission to change too, without shame. It is easier to pivot when you can show your feet where they were pointing and why. It protects truth in a time that plays with truth. Feeds and headlines carry certainty like perfume. An audit trail is your counterscent. When a claim lands hard, some statistic that wants you angry, some story that wants you hopeless, pause long enough to save the source and one question you would ask if you were calm. Later, in a quieter hour, check the method, not just the message. If it holds, fine. You have strengthened a real belief. If it falls, you have saved yourself from adopting a hollow one that would have shaped your mood and your conversations for days. This is not cynicism. It is stewardship. The tool does not need to be fancy. a plain text note with a date at the top, a voice memo that starts with "for the record" and includes the time, a small paper notebook that lives beside the kettle, where heat and routine live together. Use language future you will understand. Avoid the heroic summary. Write the boring detail that will matter when the story tries to get pretty. Who was there? What options were on the table? What you ruled out and why? What you would need to see to reverse the choice. Write one fear in full sentences. Fears are more reasonable when they are not hiding in shorthand. Write one hope without apology. Hopes are wiser when they are not pretending to be facts. Some people will hear this and say, "But won't that make me rigid?" No. The audit trail is not a cage. It is a hinge. It lets you swing back and forth between past and present without breaking the door. You can change your mind more gracefully because you can show your mind the moment you made it. You can apologize with dignity because you can point to the assumption that failed, not to your entire character. You can forgive more cleanly because you can see the conditions that misled you, not a myth that you were always doomed. It also protects dignity in conflict. When someone tries to rewrite your motives, you do not need to shout. You can open a page and read your reasoning out loud, slowly, kindly. I chose this because I believe this, and I consulted this, and I named this risk. Even if they refuse to hear it, your nervous system hears it. The body relaxes when it can see the map that was used. The body escalates when it feels accused without a record. Calm is not only a virtue, it is evidence care. It tells the room, I came here to build, not burn. The audit trail humbles us in the best way. When you read back through your notes, you will find places where you argued with relentless confidence and was simply wrong. Good. Now you know where your certainty outpaces your proof. You will find patterns, people you overtrusted because they used your favorite words, ideas you undertrusted because they came wrapped in clumsy packaging. You will discover how much of your life is steered by rhythm. When tired, you concede. When rushed, you purchase. When lonely, you promise. The trail teaches without humiliation. It is a teacher who keeps the lesson and discards the shame. There is a spiritual quality to this work. It is the difference between living in a storm of impressions and living in a climate of intention. A storm tells you that meaning is whatever shouts loudest. A climate tells you that meaning is what survives the audit. When you write, we agreed to pause, and later someone insists you agreed to push, you will not need to perform anger. You will read the line, breathe, and choose again. The record is not a weapon. It is a lamp. You might say, I don't have time. Yet you have time to clean up messes born from confusion. 5 minutes after a decision will save 5 hours of repair. You might say, I don't want to be the person who needs proof. You already are. Your mind craves coherence. Give it honest food. You might say, but what about trust? Trust grows in daylight. People trust the builder who writes things down, names uncertainties, cites sources, and invites dissent with respect. Hidden power is fragile. Transparent power is strong. If you lead, make the audit trail part of the culture you carry, not a punishment you impose. Model it. Write your decisions with links to the evidence you leaned on, the questions you could not answer, and the people who disagreed with courage. Reward the person who changes their mind with new data. Praise the team that documents failure so well that the next team does not repeat it. The room will still feel pressure. The stakes will still be real. But drama will have fewer places to hide. If you are alone, begin where you are. Tonight, write one decision from this week in 3 simple lines. What you chose. Why you chose it. What would make you revisit it. Date it. Tomorrow, add one source you checked, a paper, a trustworthy article, a conversation with a person who knows. The day after, add one dissenting thought you considered. Then close the notebook and live. You are not building a shrine. You are leaving breadcrumbs for a traveler you love, the person you will be in 6 months, rounding a corner, holding questions you cannot yet see. The audit trail will not make your life tidy. It will make your life legible. It will not keep you from pain. It will keep you from the extra pain of arguing with fog. It will not silence critics. It will teach you to answer without performing for them. It will not remove regret. It will transform regret into curriculum, a page you can read gently instead of a story that wakes you at 3 in the morning and tells you are defined by a single night. You are not. You are defined by the way you meet your nights, with a pen, a breath, and a promise to tell the truth to the person who needs it most. If you take only one thing from this chapter, take this. When something matters, write it down while the room is still warm. Decisions with citations outlive drama and resist manipulation. Document your rationale, your sources, and the dissent that loved you enough to disagree. Future you is your toughest reviewer, and the kindest. Give them the gift you keep looking for in others, a clear account of why you did what you did, so that when the weather changes, the path home is still there. This is not bureaucracy. This is care. This is Mareska. Protocol 18. The Tempo Clause. They didn't beat you with better facts. They beat you with a clock. Most traps don't look like cages. They sound like now or never. Pace is leverage. Rush favors the seller. Delay favors clarity. Tonight, I want to place a gentle metronome in your hands and show you how to set the speed of your own life. The tempo clause is simple. Choose tempo explicitly. When the stakes are high, you create slow lanes on purpose. When the risk is light, you can move fast without fear. But if someone can control your pace, they can rent your judgment and return it after the refund window closes. You already know the sensation. A page flashes, offer ends in 8:59. Your chest tightens. A voice on the phone says, I just need an answer today. Your breath shortens. A partner messages, we need to talk, now. Your mind shrinks to a tunnel where only one sentence fits. Decide. That tunnel is not clarity. It's adrenaline with good lighting. The Mareska practice is not to hate speed. It is to own it. Sometimes fast is honest and kind. Sometimes fast is theater for pressure dressed as value. The difference is whether you chose it. Tempo is not a mood. It's a tool. In music, the same notes at 60 beats per minute can feel like a prayer and at 180 like a chase. In life, urgency turns options into illusions. Slowness turns noise into information. Rush favors the person asking. Delay favors the person deciding. That's why every aggressive pitch has a timer, and every wise decision has a night of sleep somewhere in its DNA. You can love people and still ask them to match your pace. You can honor opportunity and still ask it to wait long enough for your adult to arrive. In business, pace is policy. A team that treats everything as urgent treats nothing as important. Without an explicit tempo, the loudest problem dictates the rhythm and the most manipulative voice becomes the metronome. The fix is plain and powerful. Label lanes. This is a fast lane, reversible experiment, 48-hour loop. This is a slow lane, one-way consequences, minimum 1-week review. When you name the lane, drama drops. People stop selling speed as a virtue and start proving why their request belongs in the lane it's asking for. Most emergencies have poor paperwork. Slow lanes require it. That's how panic shrinks and craft grows. In love, pace is safety. A relationship that accelerates too quickly can confuse intensity with intimacy. A fight that demands instant resolution can confuse silence with contempt. Tempo doesn't mean withholding. It means protection. I care about this, and I need 30 minutes to let my better words arrive. That sentence is not distance. It's devotion to the version of you that won't cause damage. When someone insists that love equals fast replies at all hours, you can honor their fear and still refuse the tempo. You want reassurance. I can give that without becoming a siren. You are not a fire alarm. You are a person. People have rhythms that make love sustainable. In money, pace is power disguised as urgency. Scarcity clocks, IPO buzz, window closes Friday, only 3 seats left. Sometimes it's true. Often it's decoration for thin value. Your rule is simple. The higher the downside, the slower the tempo. If saying yes creates a liability you cannot easily reverse, your default beat is slow. Delay is not the enemy of opportunity. It is the friend of consent. And if the opportunity withers because you asked for a night to think, then it wasn't an opportunity. It was a performance that needed your panic to survive. In health, pace is ethics. Quick choices for reversible actions. Try the exercise, change the meal plan, test the schedule. Slower choices for irreversible ones. Procedures, medications with long tails, disclosures you cannot retract. Your standard rises with the stickiness of the outcome. Doctors who respect you will match your tempo to the consequence. If someone sells you speed when the door locks behind you, they are selling harm with a timer. A second opinion is not disloyalty. It is tempo as self-respect. The tempo clause lives in meetings, too. Most teams are not short on intelligence. They are short on cadence. Start by deciding the speed before you debate the content. We are making a draft-level call today and revisiting on Friday. Watch how shoulders drop. Decision becomes a staircase, not a cliff. People speak from curiosity instead of defense when they know today's yes can be tuned in 3 days. Conversely, when a call is final, name it and slow it. This locks policy for a year. Bring your hardest questions now. Good tempo invites dissent when dissent matters, not after harm becomes history. There is an ethical obligation hidden inside pace. Coercion loves hurry. Consent loves patience. If you sell, say the quiet part out loud. I benefit if you sign today. I prefer you sleep on it. You'll lose a few rushed yeses and gain a reputation that compounds. If you lead, build cooling-off periods into any decision that changes people's weeks or salaries or names. If you love, refuse to demand answers at midnight that could be given at noon. If your idea only wins when the room has no time, your idea hasn't won, the clock has. Choosing tempo explicitly begins with your body. Most of us don't notice we've been rushed until after we've agreed. Train a reflex so small it can fit between a word and a breath. When a request lands, inhale slower than your habit. Label the lane out loud. This feels fast. Is it reversible? If yes, I'll decide by end of day. If no, I'll get back to you tomorrow. That single sentence changes the physics of the room. You are not refusing. You are choosing the beat. People who trade in pressure will call it stalling. People who trade in trust will call it wise. Create slow lanes for your highest impact choices and guard them like a sacred garden. Give them names and boundaries. Mornings before 10 are a slow lane for deep work. Sundays are a slow lane for family and sleep. Major commitments require 1 sleep, 1 walk, 1 page of reasons. Rituals convert intention into rhythm. A walk is not procrastination. It is a place where your brain re-enters your skull after being chased by notifications. A page of reasons is not bureaucracy. It is a way to make your future self grateful you were brave enough to think. Fast lanes have their place. Use them for pilots, drafts, calls you can undo with an email. Not everything deserves a counsel. Speed is a teacher when the tuition is low. The mistake is letting fast lanes become default because they feel productive. In truth, they are sugar. They taste like momentum and leave you hungry again. Slow lanes are protein. They build the muscle that carries your life when the season is heavy. There is a softer clause inside the tempo clause. Don't let pride turn a slow lane into a stone wall. Slowness is not an excuse to avoid courage. Some decisions remain hard after a sleep and a walk because they are supposed to be hard. Tempo does not pick for you. It gives you the best conditions to pick. When you have met your own standard, evidence gathered, dissent heard, risks named, move. You can be decisive without borrowing speed from fear. If you influence others, teach tempo as culture. Put it in onboarding. What gets a 24-hour cycle? What earns a week? What requires a month? Put it in contracts. One-click exits for trials, clear review gates for builds, cooling off clauses for big buys. Put it in love. We don't solve at midnight. We slow down when voices rise. We answer after food and water. People relax when they don't have to guess how fast to stay loved, employed, or safe. The nervous system blooms when rhythm is clear. There will be times when the world ignores your claws. Emergencies are real. Houses burn. Markets crash. Kids get sick. When the world runs, you run. But even then, tempo has nuance. The firefighter moves fast because the plan was made slow. The pilot makes a split-second correction because the training was built in slow lanes over years. The best crisis responses are rehearsed at human speed so they can be executed at inhuman speed without breaking people. Practice slowness so that, when speed is demanded, you aren't just fast, you're right. Carry a pocket script for the next pressure moment. I choose the tempo. Is this reversible? If yes, quick loop. If no, slow lane. I'll answer when clarity arrives. Say it in your own voice. Whisper it if you must. The magic is not in the wording. It's in the pause that proves you remembered who the time belongs to. Your time is not common property. Your attention is not a public square. Your decisions are not souvenirs to be grabbed by whoever rings the loudest bell. Pace is leverage. Rush favors sellers. Delay favors clarity. Choose tempo explicitly. Create slow lanes for high-impact choices. In a culture that confuses speed with strength, let your rhythm be your dignity. When the timer blinks and the room leans in, you will stand at your own pace, breathe in a way that tells your body it is safe, and speak a sentence that keeps you free, not on that beat. Protocol 19. The agency anchor. You don't lose your freedom when someone pressures you. You lose it the night before when you didn't sleep. Tired minds sign bad contracts. Tonight, I want to give you a small daily practice that turns your power back on, even when the world is loud. An anchor you can hold with one hand when everything tries to pull you away from yourself. Let me say it plain. You can be brilliant, moral, and brave, and still make wreckage if your nervous system is starving. The Mareska name for the cure is the agency anchor. It is simple on purpose. Sleep enough to reset choice, move the body so the brain can think, be still long enough to hear your own voice, and review your day so tomorrow isn't a remix of mistakes. Nothing here is fancy. Everything here is sovereignty. Start at the beginning of the day before the day. Sleep is not a luxury. It is permission for your prefrontal cortex to come back to work. Without it, you'll mistake urgency for truth and flattery for proof. You know that dull ache behind the eyes, that thin patience, that weird optimism that says, I'll fix it later while you click accept right now. That's not you thinking. That's your biology begging for quiet. When you protect sleep, you are not being soft. You are sharpening the only blade you carry into every room. 7, maybe 8 hours for most bodies. Darkness, cool air, a ritual that tells your system the parade is over. Put your phone to bed before you put yourself to bed. You cannot negotiate with screens at midnight and expect your dreams to fight for you. Tomorrow's yes begins when you turn off today's glow. When you wake, move. Not to punish yourself. Not to earn food. To change the chemistry that decides how you see the world. Walk until your shoulders drop. Stretch until your breath widens. Lift something honest and put it down again. 10 minutes is fine. 20 is better. The point is circulation, blood to the brain, softness to the jaw, proof to your nervous system that you are not a captive of the chair. Movement is the most democratic therapy we have. It turns confusion into edges and panic into language. It doesn't fix your life. It makes the part of you that can fix your life available again. Then, stillness. 5 quiet minutes with nothing to solve and nobody to impress. Sit. Let the mind thrash. Let it settle. Watch your thoughts pass like weather. The goal is not emptiness. The goal is ownership. If you can watch a thought, you do not have to be the thought. If you can watch a fear, you do not have to obey the fear. This is the simplest form of consent, refusing to let adrenaline choose the day for you. It's not spiritual performance. It's a boundary inside your skull. In those 5 minutes you practice the pause that keeps you from sending the message you'll regret, buying the thing you don't need, or saying yes when your ribs already know it should be no. Last, review. A short, honesty brief that saves you from living the same day 90 times and calling it a year. 2 lines are enough. What helped, what hurt. If you want more, add, what I promised, what I kept. Write it like you're speaking to a friend you respect. No poetry, no shame. Your review is not a courtroom, it's a map. If a pattern keeps burning you, you mark it. If a choice keeps paying you back, you circle it. Future you is your toughest reviewer, and the review you do now is a love letter to them. When tomorrow's temptation arrives dressed like opportunity, your notes will be waiting with receipts. Sleep, movement, stillness, review. That is the agency anchor. The world will try to sell you upgrades. The world will also try to steal the anchor and sell it back to you in a course with a countdown timer. Smile and keep the basics. The anchor is yours, not theirs. Let's walk this through a day the way it really goes. You wake from real sleep, not the thin kind that tastes like regret. The phone is still on the dresser, bored without you. You step outside or stand by the window and move until your breath remembers how to be round. The email that felt like a siren last night now sounds like a request that can wait an hour. You sit for 5 minutes and watch your mind rehearse old arguments. You don't jump in. You let the rehearsal end without an audience. Then you write 2 lines about yesterday. You see the truth. The angry call came after the skipped lunch. The sloppy yes came after the 3rd coffee. The tenderness came after the walk. You put the pattern in your pocket like a key. The day begins on your terms. By noon, pressure shows up in its usual costumes. Quick question, urgent favor, one-time offer. I just need 5 minutes that will become 50. The agency anchor is not a shield that blocks the world. It is a spine that lets you stand while the world performs. You breathe once. You remember you slept. You remember your body is not a hostage. You remember you can watch thoughts without wearing them. You remember what helped yesterday, and you choose it. You say, I can answer at 3. You say, send the terms. I'll read them after lunch. You say, no, not today. Nothing cracks. You do not crumble. You don't even raise your voice. You simply steer. In love, the anchor is the difference between comfort and caretaking. The person you care about sends a sharp message. The tired version of you would reply with a louder one. The anchored version of you stands on sleep, breath, and stillness. You name the feeling, not the verdict. I feel tight. I'm going to walk and write you back with respect. That doesn't delay love. It protects it. You are not abandoning anyone. You are refusing to make drama a policy. The review at night will show a small miracle. What usually takes 3 hours of hurt took 30 minutes of care because you didn't let fatigue drive. At work, the anchor turns you from reactive to rare. When everyone else is sprinting without aim, you move with a pace that looks slow and makes money. You pick your 2 most important actions and put a fence around them while your notifications live in their crate. Colleagues will test the fence. They will send just checking in, which is often code for I forgot you're not my emergency room. Be kind. Don't move. Anchored people are not hostile. They are clear. When you do speak, your words carry weight because they were forged in oxygen, not fumes. Meetings end faster when you talk less and say the thing that makes the room honest. The difference is not talent. It is chemistry. The agency anchor is better chemistry. There is a quiet danger I have to name. You will start to feel good, and you will be tempted to skip the basics because you think you've graduated. That is the moment the trap resets. You are not done with sleep because you had 3 clear days. You are not above movement because your head is bright. You are not past stillness because your tone is gentle. The anchor is not a treatment. It is a way of living that keeps your contract with yourself unbroken. The day you are busiest is the day the anchor is non-negotiable. Especially then. Because tired minds sign bad contracts and call them strategic compromises. Protect the basics. This is ethics, not just wellness. When you sell or lead or love from exhaustion, you start to use speed and pressure to compensate for the clarity you no longer have. You rush people because you are behind. You hide costs because you can't face them. You demand answers because your emptiness is loud. The anchor is how you refuse to make other people pay for your depletion. You rest so you can be clean with them. You move so you can be patient with them. You sit so you can hear them. You review so you can repair with them faster next time. What about the days that collapse anyway? The plan breaks, the kid is sick, the deadline moves without mercy. You will not be perfect. You are not a monastery. You are a human in a loud century. On those days, shrink the anchor to fit the storm. 5 hours of sleep beats 4. 2 minutes of breathing beats 0. 10 squats next to the sink beat a promise to start over next month. 1 line of review beats the grand essay you'll never write. The anchor is elastic. It meets you where you are and it still works. Small beats nothing. Today beats someday. If you lead a home, a team, a company, make the anchor a culture instead of a secret. Put quiet on the calendar like you put meetings on the calendar. Celebrate logs and debriefs the way you celebrate launches. Replace always on with always clear. Ask your people what their anchor looks like and protect it when the quarter gets loud. You will not lose speed. You will lose drama. The quality that shows up when bodies are rested and minds are oxygenated will feel like a new kind of profit. And if you sell anything, honor the anchor on the other side of the table. Don't make your customer stay up late to find the truth. Put it on the first page. Don't make your client choose at midnight. Invite them to sleep and decide when their brain belongs to them again. Let people bring their best selves to your offer and it will have a chance to live. Trick a tired mind and you get a refund with a nasty email later. Win a rested mind and you get a partner who stays. There's one more piece you'll discover when you practice this long enough. The anchor does not make life easy. It makes you honest. You will start to hear which work is truly yours and which work is a costume you've been wearing to be loved. You will feel which relationships breathe with you and which require you to hold your breath to keep them. You will see which habits feed your power and which are just sugar for your loneliness. This clarity can be tender and it can hurt, but it returns the steering wheel to your hands. And that is the point of all of this, to choose your life on purpose. Carry this with you the next time a clock blinks and a room leans in. Say softly, like a vow, I am anchored. Then act like it. Go to bed on time like your future depends on it, because it does. Move your body like you're rinsing sand from a lens, because you are. Sit for 5 minutes and let the storm pass without your signature. Review your day and draw a small map for tomorrow. The world will keep hustling. Let it. You have an anchor. You have agency. And when they ask how you became so calm while everything is loud, you can tell them the truth in one sentence they will not believe until they feel it. I protect the basics, and the basics protect me. Protocol 20. The Clean Crown. Real power is quiet. It does not beg, boast, or bargain with fear. It simply stands, tells the truth, and lets time do the advertising. The loudest person in the room is rarely in control. The one who needs the least theater is. Tonight we end this series with the crown that cannot be faked. Authority earned by clarity, restraint, and consistency, not spectacle. The clean crown is simple and demanding. You lead with standards you keep when nobody looks, and you invite audit because sunlight is your ally, not your enemy. If you've ever followed someone who made you breathe easier, you've felt the clean crown. Their voice is calm because their numbers are real. Their promises are smaller than their delivery because they measure twice and cut once. They don't rush your consent, they strengthen it. They don't hide the bill, they put it on the table with the menu. And when they fail, as every leader does, they say the plain sentence that keeps trust from dying. Here is what went wrong, here is the cost, here is what we are changing. You don't follow them because they dazzle you. You follow them because they make you safe to think. Clarity is the first jewel. It looks like simple words that can carry weight. This is the goal. These are the constraints. Here is who pays if we are wrong. Clarity is not cruelty, it's respect. People cannot give informed consent to a fog. Dull facts said gently beat exciting myths said loudly. When you choose clarity, you trade short-term applause for long-term alignment. Meetings get shorter because nobody is translating slogans. Conflicts get kinder because the what is visible and the who doesn't need to be attacked. Clarity will not make everyone happy. It will make them honest, and honesty is the soil leadership grows in. Restraint is the second jewel. It is the power you choose not to use. A clean crown can argue and doesn't, can humiliate and won't, can win with pressure and refuses. Restraint is how you teach a room that safety is not a mood, it's a policy. The leader who never weaponizes urgency, who never leaks private mistakes to score points, who never moves the goalposts after people have tried. This leader becomes the person others will bring their best work to, because their best work will be held without injury. Restraint is not softness. It is force with a governor. It is a hand steady enough to hold a future without dropping people. Consistency is the third jewel. Not perfection, pattern. The standard you set on the boring Wednesday is the law people remember on the exciting Friday. If you preach balance and email at midnight, the crown slides. If you say quality first and then celebrate speed without consequence, the crown cracks. If you ask for dissent and punish the first person who gives it, the crown turns into costume. Consistency is the slow magic by which reputations harden into reality. It's why your team will breathe when you say, "I've got this," and why your partner will relax when you say, "I'll be home." The promise is not in the sentence. It's in the history behind the sentence. Spectacle can rent attention. Only standards can own trust. Spectacle is cheap dopamine. The clean crown is expensive discipline. It costs you opportunities to look impressive. It costs you the pleasure of the last word. It costs you the thrill of the dramatic pivot that keeps the feed interested and the team exhausted. But what you get in return is something the market cannot counterfeit. Follow through that outlives mood, loyalty that survives bad news, and a life where your title and your behavior no longer argue. Use it ethically or don't use it at all. Lead with standards you keep when nobody looks. That means the invoice matches the quote, even if you could get away with rounding up. It means the reference you give for a friend is honest, even if flattery would open a door. It means the metric you bring to the meeting is the one that shows failure as clearly as success. It means we value families includes the day a junior engineer leaves early for their child without a scarlet letter on next quarter's review. Standards are not slogans. They are sacrifices you make in public and in private so other people don't have to pay the hidden tax of your ambition. Invite audit. Those two words are the weight that keeps the crown clean. Put your method where others can test it. Close the loop in writing, not just in mood. Publish criteria before you select a winner. Share who was in the room when the decision was made and note who disagreed so future you can learn from them. Don't ask people to trust your heart and guess your math. Give them both. When someone says, "Show me," you don't flinch, you open the folder. An audit is not an insult. It's proof that your power is strong enough to stand in daylight. This crown changes the way you speak. Your sentences get smaller and your verbs get heavier. "We will try" becomes "we will do it by Friday." If we miss, you will hear from me first. "We are transparent" becomes "all fees are on the first page. Refunds process within 3 days." "We care" becomes "we've removed midnight messaging from policy. Emergencies route to a staffed line with a human." The earth under people's feet firms up when you talk like this. Their creativity shows up because their nervous system doesn't have to gamble on your mood. It changes the way you decide. You choose tempo on purpose. Slow for choices that lock, fast for things you can reverse. You map the door type before you touch the handle. You insist on receipts before you act on beautiful stories. You name your bias before it chooses for you. You let dissent speak, and you thank it while it speaks, so the room learns what love looks like here. You write the reason now because future you is your toughest reviewer later. You don't need to win arguments. You need to be right enough to carry people through the dull, necessary parts of victory. It changes the way you apologize. You don't write poetry. You return what you owe. We failed in these 3 ways. Here is the refund. Here is the fix. Here is what we will do to make failing like this harder next time. You don't center your feelings or ask for instant absolution. You make amends, you make adjustments, and you let time finish the speech. The clean crown is never above "I was wrong." The crown stays clean because it touches the floor often. If you sell, your crown shows up in the way you price and the way you let people leave. No traps, no guilt, no labyrinth to cancel. You tell the quiet part early, "I benefit if you upgrade. Please sleep on it and decide with a rested mind." You'll lose some rushed wins and gain the kind of customers who send you their friends because they didn't have to fight you to be treated like adults. If you manage, your crown shows up in the way you protect the unpopular truth. You publish the uncomfortable metric. You rotate the first word so you don't drown out the room. You go last when praise is handed out and first when blame is assigned. Your people will follow you into hard seasons because those choices built a bridge strong enough to carry the load. And if you love, really love, your crown shows up as steadiness. You do not make threats to get compliance. You do not use silence to punish. You do not keep score with a sharpened pencil. You tell the truth, keep your times, honor the no, and refuse to sell a future you don't plan to fund. The people closest to you will stop bracing after enough seasons of this. Their laughter gets louder because your restraint has made the room safe for joy. You will be tempted to trade the clean crown for the fast costume. There will be days when spectacle seems to win. Resist. Spectacle wins minutes. Standards win decades. You will be told that audit invites attack. Smile. Only the brittle fear light. You will be told that restraint looks weak. Tell them you're saving strength for the part that matters, carrying people through the long hallway between promise and delivery. You will be told that consistency is boring. Tell them boredom is a luxury earned by a life that no longer burns down and calls it passion. If you want a pocket ritual to keep the crown steady, use this one. Before any decision that affects other people's sleep, money, or name, ask 3 questions in order. Is my standard clear enough to measure? Am I willing to keep it when nobody is watching? How will I invite audit so reality can correct me fast? If you cannot answer with a sentence a tired person can understand, the decision is not ready. Slow down and sharpen your words until they can carry the weight of someone else's trust. Authority earned by clarity, restraint, and consistency, not spectacle. Lead with standards you keep when nobody looks. Invite audit. That is the clean crown. It won't glint on stage as brightly as the borrowed kind. It won't flood your inbox with strangers who love you for a week, but it will put a quiet in your bones that no headline can buy. It will make room safer and work truer and love easier to keep. And one day, when someone asks the people who know you best what power felt like in your hands, they won't mention your volume. They'll say your name and then they'll say 2 words that matter more than legacy. We trusted. If this resonated, subscribe to Audiobook Vision, tap like to keep this work alive, share it with someone ready to create rather than perform, and leave a comments. See you next.